me jewels. Get your hand off me jewels.
Twitch chat. Hello, hello, how the devil are you today? Welcome to this beautiful March Nova Cup stream. And with me is none other than Seto Kaiba. Seto, hello!
Hello, how are you doing? I'm here for the second month. Does that mean I've made it?
It either means you've made it or that no one else was available. I'm not entirely sure which. Luckily, I was available. But it would have been pretty
We
pog, I
can't
think,
do
to
it
have
without you.
you by yourself. Now, did you bring your box, by the way? Because I know it makes you feel more comfortable.
I left the box at home.
My God, luckily you're home.
Holy shit. True.
But Seto, look, we've got some really exciting games of Legion ahead of us today. And for the first matchup, we're going to be watching Drakir and FC Lucy, which I think is going to be the first time that we actually get to cast an honest to God developer playing during the Nova Cup, which is going to be pretty cool. So, for anyone who doesn't know, been living under a rock, whatever, the last month or so, Drakir has joined the developing team for Legion TD2 and perhaps Legion TD3 as well. So that's very, very cool. Good news for Drakir, good news for the team, good news for the game, and good news for us, Seto, because we get to blab about one of the devs during the game. Hopefully we can flame him, but he probably won't make too many mistakes worthy of flame. We'll have to try pretty hard on our part, I think.
While that's true, I have two things to mention. One, it's very possible that he may make a mistake because I did something that felt a little awkward. I typed his own name into his own site to get his stats, and I thought that that was a little bit interesting. But I also noticed that earlier today, one of our opponents for Drakir and Lucy beat Drakir in a game with
Oh,
none
very
other
good.
than the rat himself.
Oh, very, very good. So was that Slickins or Fizzlebur?
That was Fizzlebar.
Oh, very good. Again, brilliant that these players have their names like this just to make our job that much harder, you know? I think in
I
the
asked for clarification and I got told to pound sand.
oh, very good.
Yeah, that's on them. So when I call them fuzzle wuzzles or whatever it is, that's going to be on them.
Fuzzy Wuzzy seems like a perfectly good substitution in my book. So so yeah, their opponents, as you just mentioned, is Fuzzlebur and Mr. Slickins. So one of the most let's call him dynamic streamers in the Legion community. Certainly a personality for Dam Dam Fam, and they're always going to provide some entertainment. I think Fuzzlebur as well is one of those players who's really upped their game in the last couple of months. I know he's been in the high gravity chamber training with Lucy. They play a lot together on the ladder, so I'm expecting some big things from these guys. And it is a bit of a case of, sensei versus student, because of course Lucy is playing on the other side with Drakir. So that should be a pretty interesting grudge match. Any kind of predictions from yourself, Seto, which way this one might go?
So unfortunately, I'm going to go with the obvious choice here. I'm going to go with the dynamic duo of Drakir and Lucy because they're just classically trained together. And when Drakir was solo signed up earlier this week, there was a bit of concern, but I see that they've patched things up and are ready to go.
Very good, very good. I mean, yeah, look, I think they're probably the overdogs for sure, Drakir and Lucy. But we did see them go out of the tournament on day one last month because I remember I was looking forward to mentioning Drakir's new dev ship on day two, and he never made it there. So hopefully this time around they fare a little bit better. But Slickins and Fuzzlebur, they're going to have their say in things, and they're certainly not going to make it an easy ride, I don't think. Like I say, yeah, I do expect Drakir and Lucy to probably take this one, but only on like a 60-40 kind of edge, you know? I don't think they're a sure thing at all. And Slickins and Fuzzlebur can easily upset the apple cart this time around. So we'll have to see which way it goes.
For sure. I do think that Drakir took a little bit of time getting adjusted to like working for the devs and, had spent so much time behind the scenes that they weren't yet adjusted to being in the matrix.
Or his hacks were not set up properly
They
just
were
yet,
not.
right? So, or he maybe
New
didn't want to
patch.
make it too obvious, that sort of thing, So he only set his Mythium rate to 1% higher than normal instead of, this time around he might go with 10%. But if we're watching, it might be a bit too obvious again. So we don't know. We'll have to see whether he keeps it under wraps or if he's more flagrantly flouting those dev hacks this time around. But look, I don't know. They've won an Overcup or two in their time, so maybe he doesn't need to cheat.
Last year they were relatively successful. However, I think as the game continues to evolve and we keep seeing this new blood, and while Mr. Slickens isn't necessarily new, we are seeing, I believe, Fuzzles for the first time on the Div 1 stream here.
I think it's the first time that I've cast him. I don't know if he's played before in D1 Nova Cup, but it's certainly the first time that I've had the pleasure of casting him. So hopefully it's going to be an entertaining show. Well, I'm sure it will be an entertaining show. I'm sure what everyone in the Twitch chat is looking forward to is a best of 3 played out to the full. So the last thing we want to see is a 2-0 stomp. But look, we'll have to see what the players make of it.
I'm very excited. I see we're in lobby. We're missing. We're missing a Fuzzle Wuzzle.
Oh, well, there we
He
go.
must be looking for his hair.
Yeah, let's see if we can poke him, get him in here, get the game under wraps. By the way, Seto, I must say I didn't get the memo about appearing smart on today's cast because I feel distinctly underdressed in the face of what is a very well-kept appearance from yourself today.
I don't dress this good at work.
I do dress this good at work. This is my regular clothes. I think the only times I've worn a shirt in the last year or two has been on Novacop streams. So, yeah.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of my bosses, because they've begged me for the last 5 years. They have truly tried, and I'll show up once or twice a week, and then it'll start to fade. So,
how have you been enjoying the new patch then, Seto? Because I must admit, I've maybe been slacking a little bit in my Legion playing over the last few months. But I actually played a bunch of games with my brother last week, and again with Green this week, and I've been really enjoying the new patch. I think what the devs have done to shake things up in terms of the leaking gold and stuff like that has made things really interesting. I think the early game can be very dynamic, and I think you can kind of take more risks than maybe you have done for previous patches. So I've been really enjoying it. How about you?
So as I've been easing back into the game myself, because it's been a little bit of a hectic start to the year for me, I have been getting more and more confident in pushing workers and accepting my leaks and accepting my losses, because the snowball effect feels better. I feel like we are making new ground and new changes. And while there is a little bit of an interesting meta shift in the depths of Elo Hell, I think that generally speaking, in the higher ranks, we are not going to see too many outside of the boundary shenanigans.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I think the reason that kind of made me realise this was seeing Kingdowns and Widdowson just smashing their games this time last month. They just have no cares in the world in the early game. You know, I think a couple of their games they were on like 20% King HP by wave 7, and then brought it back to a win in the mid to late game. So they play very, very fast and aggressive in the early game. They push the workies, they leak a few waves, sure. They give away some bounty gold to their opponents, sure. But they have higher worker counts, they have higher income, and then they can pilot that to victory towards the later stages of the game. So I found that really interesting, quite refreshing, and I just want to see how the teams have adapted to that in the last month or so, because obviously they've now had a lot more time to get comfortable with this new meta, and we'll have to see if it's more of that, you know, were Kingdowns and Widdowson just early to the game, or if things are going to shake it up again. So I'm excited to see what happens.
A remarkable tempo shift, but for the speed that I play at, which might be a little bit slower than some players, just as I get up there in age, I do find that this suits me a lot better, because I am keeping up, and I find that my rhythm is in a nice place right now. So as long as we can keep moving this direction, maybe I'll start to put up some remarkable numbers in the coming weeks.
Oh, very, very exciting. So watch this spot. Seto Kaiba rank 1 this time next month, eh?
Very soon. Like, you heard it here first, by the way.
So we're going to have to watch you playing Nova Cup next month, right?
Well, you see, I'm becoming kind of a regular here, so I might have to see what my plans entail next.
Well, there you go. You don't want to upset
Let's go.
the regular casting gig. But guys, without any further ado, that is enough padding from myself and Seto, because here it is. Game number 1 of the March Nova Cup is here. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on, indeed. And did you just hear that sound? Is that a Fiesta right off the bat?
That is a Fiesta, and it's none other than Fuzzy Wuzzy, Fuzzlebear himself, with the Fiesta, and Slickens with the Cartel. So again, a really classic mastermind pair up there. One very risky in the early game with the Fiesta, of course, and one generally very stable in the early game with that Cartel. So interesting to see how these guys pull that one off. And what do you think about the other masterminds on the other side?
So sorry, I'm trying to adjust my settings here. I tried to make it so that I could look at the camera and pretend like I was actually interested in seeing your face. So what I do see here is I see Drakir with the redraw, which I have been absolutely loving, and Lucy with the Kingsguard. And Kingsguard really strong right now, but Drakir with this open is a little bit suspect. They've already rerolled 5 times to kind of keep a little bit of kind of a sus unit here. It depends on how far they put themselves back, as Angler is 0 value until you get that KP.
Yeah, right. Oh, snails coming out from both Slickens and Fuzzlebear, but it looks like Drakir and Lucy should both be completely fine here.
So Lucy with the Levi, very interesting, and Slickens and Fizzle sending the snails. I think that's them just projecting their own insecurities onto their opponents.
Perhaps. Drakir, I mean, his Gate Guard does fully tank, but I think the Angler is just enough DPS to clear the wave, right?
It will likely be close, but the Angler is a fine enough unit here, and they're both fort. Like, everything here for Drakir is fort, so at least he'll have the defense that he needs, but he should be cleaning up just fine.
Yeah, he is fine. Meanwhile, a perfect Fiesta there from Fuzzy Wuzzy himself, just leaking the 1 creep. It doesn't get any better than that.
Really does. You know he likes to see that. We do see snails coming across the way in income for every one of our players here today. That always feels good for pretty much everything. Like, we're not necessarily in the income king meta anymore, but there are certain games where that just is kind of the way it goes.
Now, we do get resends coming out from all of our players. I would actually really like to see Fuzzlebear add the second snail, because Drakir can leak decently to it. But no, just the 1 comes out.
Yeah, kind of unfortunate here. Gate traditionally not very good on 2, but I guess seeing the Angler, he assumed that he'd be perhaps a little bit overbuilt, but again, we could have taken advantage of some of that dead value.
Okay. I saw that 75% from Slickens, and I thought these guys were in trouble, but I guess the casket killed the wave with its dying breath.
Just barely, and thank goodness that change came into wave clear a little while ago, where you have that extra little bit of time to finish up the clear before it actually counts as a leak.
Sure. And
We
Drakir
don't
did
want to
leak
see that
as well.
terrible.
Just 17% to the 1 snail, but I think that could have been a pretty sizable number if Fuzzlebear had added the second snail.
Yeah, I definitely want to see some commitment out of Mr. Slickens and Fuzzle. I don't want them to feel intimidated. I want them to take command of what it is that they've set up for themselves and just do the thing. Just play like you would normally if you were playing against anyone else.
Yeah. Try not to kind of let the pressure go to you, I guess. But here we have Seto, the first try-hard send of the game. It is a Robert and a Snail into Drakir. He did build Seraphine, one of the best units in the game for Wave 3, but that thing gets run down pretty quickly by Robert.
Yeah, the Robert getting right on it just because of the way that the split was set up. I think Drakir is looking at another kind of juicy leak here.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, his Angler stacks.
Yeah. Angler didn't get the full thing there, only 41% though, but Lucy leaking 2 against the snails. These guys are going to take some king damage here. Meanwhile, on the other side, 11 creeps make it through Fuzzlebear's lane, but this time around Slickens is more than capable of covering his teammate, so no more damage on the side of You Wanna Fly. Now the 2 kings are pretty close in terms of their HP, but Jules is still favouring Barnes Kieran.
I'm actually a little bit shocked by that. I do see Mr. Slickens sitting on 9 workers and relatively decent income with the cartel and the amount of ink that he sent so far. So I'm kind of shocked to see the position that we're already in. I'm not sure how things have changed as far as navigating the win conditions go, but it looks a little sus.
At what point do you think Fuzzlebear might build units that aren't just more pixies, by the way? Because I don't know about this one, Chief.
Well, I mean, the good news is last patch we shifted more of the damage and power into the Chloropixie instead of the Seedling. So, I mean,
Okay,
if you really think about it, he's just increasing his value by building more pixies.
fair enough. Yeah, I didn't realize that Jules had shifted quite so much power from the Sakura into the Chloropixie, but yeah, it looks like Fuzzlebear making very good use of that indeed. Unfortunately, Slickin's casket spell completely missing the wave. As a result, there's six creeps reaching the king, and a little bit more tickle damage is dealt.
I think we're going to get to see our first of the Pulse Bot unit here with Slicky, and I am shocked because they were hovering it as I was saying it. I felt good about myself. But Slicky here now +9 value, knowing that Puzzle is kind of sus here with that just pixies, just 3 of them, and -140 value. While they'll kill the king, most likely, there's not much else going for them.
Yeah. Drakir playing things very safe, meanwhile going up to 500 value with the Bounty Hunter upgrade here. Wave 5, he's going to be completely fine with that. But having said that, look at the worker count on You Wanna Fly. We've got 9 workies for Mr. Slickins and 11 for Fozzie Buzzy, who also has the triple pixie, so getting quite a lot of Mythium advantage over there.
They are getting a lot of Mythium advantage, as well as the 11 workers that they have. They also have those 3 Chloropixies, which at this point have given them a decent amount of both income and Mythium counts here. So this could be it could be working, but I am very afraid for 7, especially if Drakir and Lucy decide to save here.
Yeah, there's a big send coming out here on Wave 6, though, from Fuzzlebear. So, I mean, Drakir is still pretty high value, but his units are definitely not the best here on Wave 6. And I think Fuzzlebear does get the second Brute. He does. This could be scary. Oh, wait, he actually goes for a Robo? Nani?
A little, maybe they get another Robo and decided that 80 value is better than 60.
Oh,
And
yeah, he does. He
can't
does,
say
you're
I'm
right.
against that.
Yeah. I just assumed it would be like a double Brute Snail, but no, the double Robo.
Yep, so double Robo, and Drakir did show the Warg, so I believe that magic damage is pretty good against natural, so this could end up being a pretty good send here. This
His tank is so
Seraphim
perfect, though. The
tanking.
Seraphim living forever.
Perfect.
Robo does take it down eventually, but that thing did so much work before it died. Fuzzlebear, meanwhile, 77% leak, just barely missing that Rocco. That's very unfortunate. Drakir, though, 70% for him, while having well over 100 more value than Fuzzlebear does. This is pretty spicy, Seto.
It is pretty spicy, and if Drakir and Lucy did save here, this would have been one of those instances where you would have been elongating a wave that you're bad next, which is not something you typically want to do. But Lucy up to those juicy 13 workers.
She is going for a full send here on 7 as well. I certainly can't blame her. Fuzzlebear is looking horrendous here on Wave 7 with the triple Chloropixie, Berserker not much better. Does add a couple of pretty good units here, but I think Fuzzlebear's damage is severely lacking here. And it looks like Lucy is saving that Mythium for the second Brute after income. So I do expect a pretty decent leak here from Fuzzlebear on 7.
Exactly that. We know that they're not great. The brutes will eventually hit that berserker, and it's already not a good unit on 7 with all of the different things that it has to focus before it's able to do anything.
Oh, one of the brutes being sniped there. Very quick death on that one, so decent result there for Fuzzlebear, but still one left alive, more than enough to take down Fuzzlebear's remaining defenders, and that is an 84% leak. Slickins, meanwhile, the casket is dead. He will be able to hold his own lane, but very little in the way of cover mid, I think.
Yeah, so this will amount to some amount of king damage. I think that with all of that being said, I think that this is a worthwhile send from Lucy, but her income did take a little bit of a hit as a result. She's still number 2, but possibly, maybe wanting some of that back.
Yeah. Meanwhile, on the other side, we saw that very, very small leak from Drakir, but nothing particularly special. And yeah, look, even more king damage being dealt here. So you want to fly, they are dropping quite low, but economically speaking, they're in a very good place. And here we have the big counterattack coming out. Slickens with a pack leader, Fuzzlebear with a mole. What are your answers now? Drakir, he does have that magic 250 gold, which means Kingpin comes out, and he should be absolutely fine. Mole doing absolutely nothing against the Kingpin. And meanwhile, in lane 2, we've got the Lord of Death there for Lucy, so another absolute powerhouse of a unit on wave 8. I think these guys are going to do very well against these Sens.
I think as long as the Hades here is able to get off a little bit more than 2 of its dragons, we're going to be looking very good here. However, with that pack leader coming in, it might just get be able to chomp through all of Lucy's units way too quickly.
Yeah, the front line is going down very quickly. The first dragon... Oh no, the Leviathan died. I thought the dragon was taking focus. But yeah, the pack leader's still alive and really doing some work here. It does now go down, but only after every single one of Lucy's units dies, apart from the Lord of Death, which is soon to follow. So yeah, a decent leak here from Lucy, 83%. Luckily, with the Kingpin, Drakir will be holding, and that is very rewarding from him. He gets so much gold from holding the full send. He's even going to be able to cover most, if not all, of this in the mid.
Absolutely. And Lucy, please, let's not forget, is Kingsguard. So let's say Drakir wasn't able to hold all of this. Well, then it becomes King's job, and we're more than adequately equipped in order to be able to do our job here.
And actually, you want to fly are taking more damage this wave than Drakir and Lucy did.
Bingo. So Lucy doing as well as they did, perhaps not as well as they wanted to do, but still ending up just fine here because we had that Kingpin shifted beautifully on that last wave.
And things could be looking pretty shaky wave 11 for the side of You Wanna Fly. They don't have great units for that wave, and there's all-out assault available, so I could definitely see a mega send coming out from Barnes Kier in wave 11, maybe just even straight up ending the game there.
Absolutely, and you do see Drakir and Lucy did save this wave, so maybe they've identified the very same thing that you have, and us having the knowledge that we have can see that Slicky and Fizzle are not really that good, even if they get down the best units they have for 11, which could be that Mudman or the possibly the new Skybot with the Hades.
Agreed. And I do think that this Income King send here, wave 9, is kind of sealing their own fate in a way, because it allows Barnes Kieran both to push the worker button pretty much as hard as they want, and they're again under zero pressure here on wave 10, where they're honestly not looking great. So maybe Slickens and Fuzzlebear could have just applied pressure here, forced to send out on a wave where they are strong, rather than allowing them to push workers and then save for a wave where they are pretty weak. We'll have to see if it's a fatal mistake. Wave 11 coming right up.
Yeah, speaking of fatal, just because I guess Fizzlebear might be a little bit afraid, they did make the Feta on this wave here. I don't know if I would have done that knowing that both my mate and I are not so great on 11. However, we do have a Skybot and a early Lord of Death here for Mr. Slickens. Both decent units on 11. However, you've just shown your opponent your trap card, more so to speak.
And here's the thing, right? So Slickens, he has that Lord of Death. He can probably get the Hades out. But yeah, that's what I was about to say. Drakir already had the Mythium for a Kraken. So the fact that Slickens showed that thing on wave 10, he's just guaranteeing the Kraken to come out, I think.
Yep, kind of unfortunate. I'm not so certain about this Dragon Turtle, as it might goof with the Kraken a little bit.
Oh, it should push the Kraken away, yeah.
So perhaps Drakir maybe recenters it or something. I don't know exactly what the plan is. I'm not going to assume. I don't think I have to, as you know, he's got this under control. Surely.
Surely. Now Slickens, I would like to see some boosts coming out of those orchids. Yeah, actually opting not to go for the Hades, by the way. He's I think he upgraded a Skybot here and another orchid. Yeah, there's a bunch of tanks there, and Slickens is going to have some real trouble chewing through that Kraken. Like, all of his DPS units are magic, right? The double orchid, the Lord of Death, he does kill it eventually, but So much of his units have been killed by the time that happens. He's not going to kill a single wave creep. That's 107% leak there from Slickins. Fuzzlebear is doing better, but regardless, that is an 88% leak from them. And this is a lot of damage coming out here on wave 11. I think they will survive it, but it's going to be close.
I'm going to say that it's going to be close, and if they lose here, yeah, that Four Eyes is definitely doing a lot of work here. There's not enough King Ups, and it looks like
Wow.
Mr. Slickin's cartel debuff just really it cost them the game.
Holy moly, that I did not expect them to just straight up die there. They both took the sacrifice. I assume they both used it as well. But yeah, that was a pretty dangerous play there. We saw. I think that the real thing here is this wave 9 incoming King Send from Slickins and Fuzzlebear, and then the final nail in the coffin. They did it again on wave 10, right? So that just allows Drakir and Lucy the run of the mill. They can do exactly whatever they want. What they want happens to be pushing a couple of workers and going for this kill send on wave 11, where Fuzzle and Slick were both pretty weak, it has to be said, and actually impressed with how well Fuzzlebear did, but I guess his value was quite high there. Slickins, though, he did not stand a chance against that Kraken.
Right, but they had so long, Drakir and Lucy, to build up all that Mythium, saving from wave 9 into 11 with AoA. And the fact that Drakir had the Kraken naturally without the boost from the AoA really kind of sealed their fates.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's 1-0 then on the side of Barnes Kieran. They have used their Redraw and Kingsguard, two very popular masterminds in the current meta. So we'll have to see what they go for next time. And maybe the fact that they received Snails in Game 1, I would love to see the mind game of them picking Fiesta next time around and getting King Ups.
Absolutely, I think that would be kind of fun. I don't know if Drakir plays. No. We get a little bit of Fiesta out of Lucy here, but generally speaking, I think Drakir is a Megamind main. A Megamind maniac, if you would.
I think it's fair to say Drakir is probably capable of playing all of the masterminds. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
But Lucy for sure has been known to play some Fiesta from time to time, so I wouldn't be surprised to see her pull it out here.
absolutely. I am very excited, by the way. Speaking of masterminds, we are on the cusp of April, and a new mastermind is about to unlock.
Oh, very exciting. I wonder what it's going to be. Guys, game number 2 is underway. These players are not messing about. Let's see if Fuzzlebear and Slickins can pull this one back as we go game number 2.
So no Megamind selected yet at all. However, let's take a look really quickly here at our selection of Legion spells. I think Protector, while hotly contested and difficult to balance, is still one of my favorites. And we have one of my favorite units to put it on drop down so far.
Yeah, Pota, certainly a very good unit choice for Protector. And just looking at the Legion spells here, I do expect a different kind of pace in this game, right? Because last time around we had that big aggressive all-out assault, and while counterattack is not bad by any stretch, it doesn't quite have the punching power, and there's two very good defensive spells to offset it.
Absolutely. If anyone goes counterattack here, I'd be kind of shocked, especially because, never mind, we Megaminded into a Fiesta. So I'm going to withdraw what I was about to say and not say it at all.
Oh, wow, okay, yeah, so they do go for the Megamind Fiesta, so pretty good matchup. This is Fiesta's other natural counter, or natural teammate, I should say, Kingsguard, because if you're planning to leak a lot, then why not have a stronger king?
Absolutely. If it weren't that, it'd probably be Cartel, just because you like that early push, you like the fast and aggressive style here. But if you're not looking to sacrifice your own value and just trying to give yourself just a little bit of safety, Kingsguard is a very valuable friend.
For sure, for sure. Slickins should get a pretty nice Fiesta leak here with his Windhawk start. Bit of a weird role there, actually, for the Slickmeister. He doesn't have a tier 1 unit at all. I wouldn't mind seeing him reroll, actually, to try and find one, because he's going to maybe struggle to make ends meet there with like his cheapest unit being the Slime.
While that's true, I think he's got a lot of really good options here. He's got a really good mid-tier role, the Ranger being just good for some of that bonus pierce damage, but the Warg and the Windhawk classic duo The slime very strong, pretty much all across the early game and even in parts of the late game.
Mhm.
And then he's got the catapult, which we have a 0% win rate on the main cast, I believe.
I think we did see someone kind of accidentally winning with it, but I also think the unit has been buffed so many times in a row that it kind of has to be good right now. And we did get that snail sent into Drakir, but he is more than fine with his champion Honeyflower. Never in doubt. And we just get income sends coming out now. And do we get a Fiesta from Slickens? We do, a very nice one, actually. 33% there against the no send. Maybe a bit unlucky leaking 2 low HP creeps. It could have been even better.
Absolutely. I mean, even if he had knocked off one more of those, just taking it from a 33% leak down to a 20% leak feels so much better. And one more thing before we go, leave the catapult talk. Because I want to say one more thing while it's still early here. Catapult is so heckin' strong right now that if you are not picking it and and you're placing it even halfway decently, you're not taking advantage of how long it's going to be strong because it'll never be this strong again.
Yeah, I think the unit is actually pretty cracked right now. Like, I don't love the design, the way that you have to position it, but I think the thing is so strong right now that you just have to play it.
Yeah, no, it's anti everything we've ever known, and wow, just barely a little baby leak out of FC Lucy's Poda there as it was about to hit its second powered up attacks where it starts to heal again.
Oh, that's very unfortunate. So Lucy actually leaking about the same amount as Slickens there, but of course she doesn't have the Fiesta safety net to back her up, while Slickens does. But having said that, you want to fly. First blood has been drawn there. Fuzzlebear not quite able to fully cover his teammate.
Yep, we are starting to see a little bit of that synergy boost for the warg here as we're beginning its little circle. So if we start to get that online, preferably before 10, we'll be in really good shape here. I'm not sure what we're going to do with this unit yet, but the AoE version of it, the Tree of Knowledge, does not debuff the Alpha Lion, so we'll have to see how that ends up getting positioned. I do also like hiding the Windhawk a little bit, as the more cast that it gets off as Violet, the better it feels.
Yeah, for sure. Alright, Lucy not repeating that wave 3 mistake. How about Slickens? Wait, is he just going to pull off an absolute beauty of a Fiesta here?
Oh, he absolutely is. I think he kills the snail and then leaks that last chicken, and that is the best you can... Oh,
okay,
right,
the
just
snail
kidding.
makes it through as
Very
well,
close.
but that is a very nice Fiesta there from Slicky.
Certainly no complaints from him, I can guarantee you.
More income coming out. So this is just a very kind of income-focused game so far. We did have a bit more action going on in the previous game, but Slicken's pulling off some really impressive Fiestas so far, maybe keeping everyone else on their toes. I'm just interested which of the teams is going to kind of break this handshake gaming first and go for a big boy send.
If I had to guess, I would probably guess that it'd be Fizzle and Mr. Slickens, because I think that Lucy is happy sending into a Fiesta here and, just getting whatever it is that she gets from each wave. And I feel like the onus is going to be on Fizzle and Mr. Slickens to actually perform this game.
Oh, looks like Fuzzlebear going... Oh no, he's absolutely fine, right? The Seraphim, just an absolute beast on this wave, does leak 3 creeps, but could have been worse. And Slickens this time, it is the Fiesta player's turn to cover.
And that's honestly the best you could ever ask for from your mate. When they're Fiesta and you're feeling a little bit down, can you just cover this one for me? And Fizzle, or Mr. Slickens says, I got you, fam.
I got you. And they will actually take a little bit of king damage here. Slicken's not quite able to fully cover the leak, but only one Scorpion making it through, so not really too much bother at all, I don't think. And they have some regen ticking as well. They don't quite have the same worker lead that they did in the early game last time around. Drakir is on par there with 10 workers. Lucy slightly behind on 9. But I guess one thing that's going for them is that they don't quite have those crazy leaks that Fuzzlebear did with his triple Pixie Fiesta last game. So Slicken's still getting some very, very good Fiesta leaks, And a bit less Mythium, sure, without the Chloropixies, but he's also feeding much less gold to the enemy team.
Absolutely, and that's it. Is these leagues are a little bit closer, but the wear count, of course, suffering just that hair a little bit here. I really like the Robos into the champion flower on this wave, as it's not typically the strongest unit. Like, sure, it's natural, that's neat, but we chewed right through it. I guess I do always forget that the Atom did just get a buff for some reason.
And Drakir's aggro is just absolutely perfect here. Look at this. The way that his unit's split tank was just spot on there for him. And we'll see if anyone can make anything happen. Lucy is skipping this wave 7, and if I look at Slickin's board, he does look pretty damn weak on wave 8, it has to be said. Now, the Daphne maybe changes things somewhat, but I don't know, like a pack leader or something, wave 8, I think Slickins is in some real trouble.
If for whatever reason the Slime Siren's unable to get off all 3 of its children on wave 8, yeah, that could absolutely spell some real danger. However, the Windhawk is kind of a sleeper pick on wave 8 in my experience.
Oh wait, like if you get the Violets upgraded?
Yes, pardon. Yes, if you have the Violet magic to help spread out some of that damage, which makes it really kind of an insane unit for 6, 8, and 9.
Alright, well, nothing particularly exciting here on wave 7. A little bit of income, a little bit of king upgrade. Nobody's going to leak yet, so we'll have to see. Lucy just going for income, actually, on wave 8. So Slickins perhaps bowed out somewhat, but having said that, he's re-rolled now, and he's going straight for this Lord of Death here on wave 8. So it would have been pretty fine, actually, even with a big send here on wave 8, I think. I mean, especially looking at that value. 940 there for Slickins, wave 8. He's kind of a powerhouse right now.
Kind of very respectable. Yeah, no, I have no complaints here about this. The onus was on Fizzle and Mr. Slickins to do the first real send, and there was a little bit of a test from Mr. Slickins on 6. However, nothing really came of it, and since then we've just gone back to kind of just in King, and there's nothing wrong with that. We have King's Guard from Fizzle, and that's probably where they'd like to stay.
Though, having said that, I do think Fizzlebear and Slickins are maybe starting to fall behind a little bit, economically speaking. They do have lower workers now. Drakir and Lucy managed to pull a pretty decent lead after wave 6. Lucy is leaking a little bit here. Drakir will be holding his own lane, won't be covering too much, so they will take a tiny tad of king damage here on wave 8, but again, nothing particularly damaging.
No, I think Lucy skipping just that one wave to send Ink and King did put just enough pressure on Slickins to make him overbuild. He was only minus 20 after one wave of not leaking.
Yeah.
Maybe that was something we can investigate later, but overall, that little bit of pressure could have just amounted in that tempo change that I was talking about earlier that can, kind of switch things up a little bit.
Oh, for sure, right? And that's the point. So Slickins, he's playing Fiesta. Lucy, just by skipping a wave here and there, keeps him on his toes, so he can't just turbo push. He can't really afford to be so low value that he's leaking to no send, because if he gets a real send, he's dead, right? So she keeps him honest and just applies pressure, and as a result, Slickins has kept lower workers than he would have done otherwise. And as a result, Drakir is miles in the lead.
Drakir is sitting on a healthy 19 workers with just on the cusp of 200 income. And every wave that you have that extra 15, 20 gold snowballs you so fast, because that 15, 20 gold can be the difference between a tier 5 or a tier 6 or a worker or two after a little bit of just a little bit of time.
And we were talking about Slickins not getting any Fiestas, so he probably heard us because he's got a pretty nice one here. 31% against a Cannoneer send is a juicy Fiesta leak there for him, I think. And just farming his income even more with another auto send, it looks like here on wave 10. But the same from Drakir and Lucy. Nobody willing to give up this income lead in the early game, it seems. Both players just racing to secure their late game power.
Absolutely. I'm not a big fan of Fizzle's choice to full send here, as it didn't really matter for Lucy what happens on wave 10. If they up the Azeria here, all Drakir needs to do is cover, and then Lucy can full push into the next wave. They have no more worries or concerns.
Yeah, we'll have to see if it works. Like, for this to pay off here from Fuzzlebear, Lucy has to leak quite decently, I think. And she doesn't look great, honestly.
I think she could have secured her wave 10 a little bit if she really wanted to, but I think she's going to do just fine.
Oh no, and that snail is actually a really bad addition there from Fuzzlebear because it allows the priestess to retarget and snack at least one of the robos. And she will be leaking decently, so maybe paying off there, 71%. Drakir, meanwhile, he's easily holding, of course. Slickens did add a brute there post-income. Maybe a bit of king damage, actually. So Drakir took enough damage. He was holding his own lane, but Slickens weakened him substantially so that they're able to deal a little bit of king damage. But, I mean, look at all those king ups, Seto. Their king is nearly fully upgraded on the side of Barnes Kieran.
And that's it. If it was a big king, maybe it would have been a little bit more of a difference. But because it was just the baby king, granddaddy, once it got to the king was able to two-shot it despite the safety mole's best efforts there.
Yeah.
Turns out needed a little more than 4 damage to reduce.
And Drakir is just in such a comfortable position here, way up on top of the power score. He's got up until now, because Slickens has actually pushed pretty hard, but till now he's had the highest workers, the highest income in the game. He's in a really strong spot right now.
Absolutely. And it's not like he's got any bad waves in the coming amount of time here. He's going to have eventually the Sov, and if he really wants to, he can up it with the Treant and give it that extra bit of regen. And that's just increasing returns as the Sov gets more HP. The more HP it'll regen once it starts taking damage. So it's really kind of a brilliant setup that he's got here. For 12, he was never in danger anyway, so the Bazooka King Ups is totally fine here because Lucy and Drakir are feeling really good about their lives right now.
Oh, Fuzzlebear going for a bit of an unprompted leak there against a Dino Send. It's only 2 creeps though, so again... Oh wait, no, he has counterattack. This is amazing for him.
Brilliant, actually brilliant.
Oh,
Yep,
that
we take
counterattack
just 2
pickup is
creep leaks.
fantastic, actually. All right. The problem, though, Seto, is that Drakir and Lucy was saving their Mythium here. So they both have very scary amounts of Mythium in the bank. And I wonder when they want to send it. I could definitely see a Wave 13 coming out. Now, Fuzzlebear does have that Doppelganger. Very good unit on Wave 14, but his front line is mostly natural, so quite weak there. And the Doppel doesn't seem to have any kind of natural synergies with it. You know, there's no Butcher for lifesteal, there's no APS for attack speed. So, Doppel, great unit, but on its own there, with no synergy, not quite the powerhouse that it can be.
For sure, Drakir and Lucy, if they can go here on 14, then all of the carry units that Fizzle and Slickens have are kind of moot, as they're just not going to be strong on their own. So despite the fact that Lucy will be minus 300, and yeah, about 300 on this wave, she's got really good units, especially if that Poda tanks perfectly, which I assume that since she's very good at this game, that's probably going to happen.
Yeah, that seems like it could be a good play, right?
All in good time.
And yeah, this thing just looks like an absolute raid boss there for Drakir, with the protection aura, with the Tree of Life buff as well, and eventually it's going to have the Starcaller for extra mana as well. So this thing is going to be an absolute unit for Slickens to try and leak.
So once again, while we are coming back to the Crawling Catapult that I said was a very good unit, I don't know if Slicky has the tankage that they need for 14 with the Crawling Catapult that is required for it to really pop off.
They are trying for a full send of their own into Drakir and Lucy, who are pretty equally undervalued, it has to be said, but the sends coming out now from Drakir and Lucy should be substantially larger than what Fuzzlebear and Slickens can muster. And Slickens does go for that fully upgraded Wandering Trebuchet. Oh, maybe changing his mind and going for tanks, though. Lucy, with the double Mimic coming out already, these things should farm some crazy amounts of gold for her, I think. With this many slimes on the board, all of those little kills, tons of extra value going over to Lucy.
Absolutely. The scaling value that Mimic gets for every wave that's passed is by wave 14, I think you're looking at 7 gold per chomped unit, which is kind of ridiculous.
And here it comes. Seto, the sends are massive. We've got 800 Mythium for Fuzzlebear to deal with. 720 there for Slickins, not too far behind. Drakira and Lucy, they do have lesser sends, but they also have a bit less value. However, this unit here from Drakir is just an absolute machine, as we mentioned. Double Four Eyes might make the kill possible, though. It does, so Drakir will leak. Will Lucy be able to hold that Protector? Azeria does go down. Slickins and Fuzzlebear both leaking around the 100% mark, though, so actually, this is a ton of leaks on both sides, but more king damage being dealt to the side of You Wanna Fly.
Absolutely. I'm kind of shocked here that Drakir wasn't on fire. However, I anticipate after this wave, they may very well be.
No, okay.
Unless Slicky is going to be 45 workers.
And just look at this probability, right? So we've got Jules calling out 51% in favour of You Wanna Fly. So despite that crazy aggressive play there from Drakir and Lucy, the fact that they didn't get maybe as much king damage done as they wanted, while also both leaking themselves, results in a pretty even game. Now, I really want to see You Wanna Fly pull this one out. Not because I'm biased, Seto, no, because I want to see game number 3.
Absolutely, I'm in the very same boat. However, I think that Fizzlebear and Mr. Slickins are going to end the game next, one way or the other. They have full pushed here. They have decided that they are going to take this game into their own hands. I even see Mr. Slickins leaking a bit here, so I think we very much are going to see that next game. And Lucy has an egg on her board right now, and if she keeps that there next wave, it's not going to do anything for her.
It might tank a bit, you know, with these 2 protons there. It might kite the split into the egg, so at least a little bit of natural HP, you know. But yeah, here comes that send, and it's pretty large after all. We've got double Ogre, Mole and a Hermit from Fuzzlebear. We've got double Four Eyes, Pack and Robo from Slickins. They still pushing, by the way. They're both on around 59 workers, and Drakir's even adding some pyros here to boot. He's looking very, very scary there. I'd love to see a bear coming out from Slickins, because he doesn't know about the pyro, I don't think, but he does know about the flower.
For sure. And while it is the flower that he saw, he never saw any more flowers afterwards. I think the pyro is coming out. Confused about the split though. But the pyro is coming out here definitely unexpected from Drakir.
920 Mythium from into Drakir's lane, who is on pretty good value. And this Sovereign, of course, is a crazy good tank on wave 16 with all of that HP and all of the buffs that it has on it as well. But with the double Four Eyes, we did see it working on wave 14, and it looks like we're going to see it working here as well. Those pyros did a great job, but not quite enough. Drakir will be leaking, but loose. Oh, wait, no! The Azeria goes down. I thought that thing was invincible.
I don't think it matters. I mean, Lucy did a great job holding here.
Wow.
She was on value. They did not spend or send any Mythium, so Drakir and Lucy are in a very, very nice position. Still deciding that they want to send here, but feeling very good about that hold, surely.
Yeah, and Slickins and Fuzzlebear, they understand that they're fairly weak on 17. They do go for an income king send of their own, desperately trying to survive here on wave 17, but those values are not looking too pretty, Seto. We've got Fuzzlebear, he's going to be around 1,000 undervalue after he finishes spending, and Slickins, he's not too much better there on minus 555.
Yup, and surely they'll get some counterattack value this wave, which, you know, is going to feel good enough for them. And as you would call blessed wave, Lucy did get the wave to tank on the Hydra just a little bit, and doing exactly what you wanted it to.
Seto,
very good.
Fuzzlebear shifting gold here. They weren't expecting the wave 17 send.
Maybe a little bit silly. Oh no, the Kraken going on to the damage.
Yeah. I just think that's going to be a fatal error there. The extra 500 gold could have made the difference, but this leak is enormous now. Fuzzlebear leaking 147%, but Slickins doing phenomenally well here. The crawling catapult just doing insane damage. Let me see if I can bring that chart up there for the catapult. And yeah, look at this thing. 15,000 damage, 16k now. This will just be a hold, no, from Slickins. That's crazy, man.
That's absolutely wild. I am very impressed with this unit. Guys, I'm going to say it again. It is strong right now. Play it.
It
It is
is
never going to be this strong again.
real strong right now. And I have to say as well, if Fizzlebear had spent his 500 gold, he would have done much better as well. Like this, they're still nearly dying, despite Slickin's hold.
Despite Slickin's hold and despite the Kingsguard, a little bit of what is this? It's 65% win rate for them.
Yeah, I mean, they have really high worker counts, they've got really good income going on there. Lucy's kind of out of the game. Like, Drakir's in a good spot regardless, right? And he had an amazing early game. But Lucy is starting to struggle while both Fuzzlebear and Slickins are pretty good in their economy.
By the way, have you played the Disciple since it got the changes to the Star Caller and its mana changes?
Oh,
And
I had a
ability
game
changes?
with the Disciple today, and that thing is kind of cracked.
So when it pops off, it feels really good. Every time it shoots off its special ability, it is a cannon.
Yeah. Oh, so
And
are
a
they-
pretty good unit tank here for Wave 18, I guess.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. It does look like a Wave 19 send coming out from all of our players. Oh, wait. Oh, no, okay. Fuzzlebear and Slickins worried me there for a second. I
Same.
thought they might try and skip here, which would almost certainly have been fatal. But no, they do go for the send. Fuzzlebear spamming the Disciples of his own. I'd like to see some extra tanks. There we go with the alpha males. So Fuzzlebear, I mean, he's still 1200 under value despite all of that, but looking quite strong on this wave. And likewise with Slickins, his tanks are really good here with the alpha male and the lioness. These things, though, I mean, are they good on 19? Surely not with impact damage.
It's ranged impact. No, it's not. Never mind. I don't know what to say about that.
All right, the sends are enormous here. We've got 17 and 1800 Mythium there received from Drakir and Lucy. In fact, I have to watch this side because these sends are so overwhelming. Surely we're going to see a victory here for one of our teams. Drakir doing pretty well there, but it looks like too little, too late. That will be a juicy leak there for him. How about Lucy? Fuzzlebear, meanwhile, 68%. Drakir, 85%. How is Slickins doing? That's a hold over there. Lucy, though, this is incredible play here from this young lady. 1300 undervalue, leaking just one creep. But I think it's going to be enough. I think they're going to survive here with only 8 creeps reaching the king, and that on nearly full HP. But Slickins, with a huge hold, covering his teammates' leak. This game setter, I just don't know how either team is going to close it out.
I think that Lucy did a great job pushing the 82 workers there. I think they're going to be able to stabilize from this point forward. I think that the Void Mantas are still ridiculously overpowered. They've got APS on them and a Levi buff. And if they pick the right wave, they may even have some Hellraiser action, Tantrum action going on in the coming waves here. So I think Lucy's in a really good spot. I think that Chaos is going to give her everything that she needs for next wave. And Drakir already was very strong with his Super Sov. I think is going to continue to pop off with that. And the other side, not too shabby themselves. It's a lot of really good rolls this game.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, I thought Drakir was actually just going to shift like 1,000 gold, but he spent all of it. And the reason I thought that is because I thought he was going to just try and bait the Wave 21 send, right?
Sure.
And then hold it and go for 22, 23, something like that. But no, he shows his value, and as a result, Fuzzlebear and Slickins will hold their Mythium.
Which does mean this game is going to come down to a Wave 22. I can just about guarantee it. The only thing I'd like to see out of Lucy's build here is a little bit of the centering of the wave so that they're able to focus the king down.
Wait, isn't this thing just
Hellraisers.
insane on Wave 21? Like, is it... I mean, it is just the highest single target DPS unit in the game, right? So does it
Absolutely.
Does it
And
just
if you can
one-shot
get your
the...
distances right, yep.
One-shot the Legion King with this many catapults?
And Daphne's.
And Daphne's as well, yeah. Wow, he really has a boss-killing build there for Slickins.
The only thing I'm missing from Slickins is those 2 Lords of Death. I need those, or 3 Lords of Death. I need those upgraded.
Just watch how fast this thing dies, man! The catapults are
It's gone.
insane! And
Absolutely.
Slickens was so comfortable here. He shifted around 370 gold himself, so Drakir showing all of his value last wave just meant Slickens had absolutely zero fear here. That's probably the fastest wave 21 clear I've seen in a while. The send does come here from Drakir and Lucy. We've got 6 witches, we've got shamans and imps coming out. Oh my, Slickens and Fuzzlebear, they have saved their Mythium, at least for now. Slickens, I mean, he's 900 under, Fuzzlebear's about 1300 under. Are they going to survive this? Like, just how broken is this unit?
This unit is broken, however, witches are the single best unit you can possibly send on Wave 21. By the time you reach Wave 21, you've got so many units on the board that those things are just always juicing. So I am very excited to see how this is going to turn out, because if they made the right call here, the game is easily theirs.
Slickens is killing the wave very, very quickly, but Fuzzlebear's going to leak decently. Slickens is now onto that backline of witches. This does look like it will be a hold from him. There's still a lot of frogs and witches to deal with, however. Fuzzlebear, meanwhile, 93% leak from them. And the catapults, wow, okay, he's actually going to leak, right? Because all of those witches are just distracting. It doesn't matter if you deal 1 billion damage for every attack when you have to waste them on these little frogs.
So that's correct. The Hades here would have been the lifesaver, because those, every time the dragons would have eaten one of those little frogos, they'd have spawned another dragon.
Is
so
this
it
enough, though? Kingsguard King, remember, Seto.
Yep. So Kingsguard here doing a great job. I think it's going to be
the wave
one of
is
those
just so tanky.
close. It's very tanky.
Oh, it is enough. 3 of those creeps still alive. The king was only able to pick off 1. I thought Slickens was just straight up holding there, but no, the 8 witches there from Lucy was enough to distract his catapults and claim the victory. So very, very well played there from the side of Barnes Kieran. We do have a 2-0 victory. Bit disappointing for all of you Game 3 fans out there. However, I think that game was exciting enough that we can forgive them.
It was very exciting. I knew the game was going to end on Wave 22. However, I was truly hoping that it would have been a little bit more of a race.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting to see if Slickens and Fuzzlebear had sent there on Wave 22, you know, which way it would have gone. But they rolled the dice, they went for the save, and I thought it worked. You know, I thought Slickens was strong enough to just straight up hold there. But no, the send there from Lucy was just too good. And I didn't quite understand how powerful witches were against the catapults, but yeah, they just distract those single target DPS machines forever, and as a result, you know, Drakir and Lucy claim victory. If you could have controlled
the way that the catapult was performing its shots, they were just all in sync and therefore all hitting the same Froggo. So yeah, I mean, that Froggo is super uber dead, but unfortunately there's a whole bunch more backing it up. But yeah, which is very, very powerful post 21.
Now let me see, do we have another game still going on this side of the bracket? I think we might, Seto. Carry on with your thought while I check out the other side.
Absolutely. When you're getting back to me with that, that was, I think, the ideal game to show off how strong Catapult really is. Slickens was not great on 14. They did fine on 14 because of the Catapult. Like they were looking pretty suspect, but they cleaned up almost the entirety of the wave. When they got a 720 send, they only had the baby Catapult. That is it.
Oh yeah, that was super impressive there. So and that was really huge for them as well, right? Because that kind of turned things around, took them from behind in the probability to ahead in the probability, and damn near won them the game. Unfortunately, it didn't pan out that way, but a really nice play nonetheless. Now, I have finished poking around on the other game in the bracket, Seto, and X-Crash Worst Polls, they're still playing. They're on Wave 9 right now, so maybe we should hop into that one and see how X-God and Ashton are faring versus Fakewom and Pakistan RQS.
Outstanding. Might be over.
So it looks like they had a game, a Wave 21 game of their own, which X-God and Ashton did come out on tops. So they are 1-0 in the lead in this series so far. But here we go, we're joining the game on wave number 9. We've just seen X-God leak around 100% here on wave 9, and hopefully this kind of fog of war lift after the wave ends. Oh, there was a leak over on this side as well, actually. So Fake One did leak decently at the same time.
The Jules-O-meter just popped in and says that our West Side team has an 83% win rate. How did we get here?
Yeah, how did we get here? That's an interesting one. Worst polls look like they're in a pretty rough spot overall. Just looking at the numbers, I mean, their income is substantially behind. Ashton, it looks like, has just snowballed his way to victory, it seems. They are going for a full send here, wave 10 though, and both Ashton and XGod are on fire, with Ashton in particular a 50 gold shot down there. So if they can make this happen, the Triple Brute is pretty good at shutting down doppelgangers. As soon as he starts tapping that thing, he can really slow down a lot of Ashton's DPS. And yeah, the doppelganger does have the brute debuff, so 15% less DPS straight up. It does die, but is 3 boots enough to get through this gate guard and claim that 50 gold shutdown? Pakistan leaks 54% against the income send. XGod will be leaking. That's 25 gold claimed. It looks like the brutes are going to make it through. And look at this. Ashton hunted the fatal treasure hunt there because he would easily have held without that. So that's a 50 gold shutdown as well. 75 gold in total and a bit of king damage. Maybe this will help to get the worst bowls back in the game.
Absolutely. And if worse comes to worse and they're starting to feel okay, and after that wave 10 leak, maybe they can go for the black market. However, they need to also think about the loan if they feel like they're in danger here. And it does look like they have a little bit of a gold deficit that they might need to make up for. So going for the PTA instead, trying to actually do some king damage. But I'm not so sure that's a good idea with XGod and Ashton Butcher here with a pretty good amount of king ups.
Yeah, and we do see them going for the cheeky resend with that press the attack. Now, it looks like they've kind of sniffed it coming. XGod is on very high value. Ashton, however, he's hunting a couple. I mean, he did add quite a lot, including a Lord of Death. And Doppelganger, of course, not really known for its wave 11 prowess, so we'll have to see. The first dragon goes down really quickly, and that's important because the dragon is... Oh, wait, no! Wow! Have you ever seen a more perfect dragon tank on wave 11? That's absolutely wild that thing stays alive. As I was just yapping, that thing makes up a lot of Lord of Death's total DPS. He's leaking anyway, right? And that's another 50 gold shutdown. And XGod leaking decently as well. Now, if you were writing a script of how someone can come back into the game while being, 90% unfavored by Jules, this is probably how that script starts.
Absolutely. So there is a good amount of king ups. However, there's also a good amount of units coming in to hit that king. While there is that AoE doing the most excellent work, we're only going to be able to hit 50% king.
Now that has shifted the needle somewhat there, with worst polls now having 34% odds to win. Everyone just going for income here on wave 12. They are at least catching up with XGod, it seems. The income, they're still slightly behind, but Ashton is so far ahead there. He's got, 50 more income than everyone on the enemy team? That's a free worker every single wave.
Free worker every single wave. They are incoming kind of religiously here. Unfortunately for Paki, I do not see a late game anything for him in this role. And
if I'm being generous, he can chieftain buff a Yozora.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I suppose some disciple shenanigans can always be good as well.
As we said, it hits like a truck, and it's a great tank on 16, as we found out last game.
Now, we do see Fake One pressing the worker button quite a few times, knowing that he's got an absolute wall to break through in the form of Ashton. Pakistan RQS, he's playing it a little bit safer, but still pressing the worker button quite hard. They do actually now have more workers than their counterparts, which suggests they're going to try something a little bit aggressive. XGod and Ashton, though, they're kind of playing it safe. They're shifting some gold, and if this comes down to, say, a wave 14 send, they're both just going to be overvalued.
They're going to be overvalued, and Black Market's about to hit. So they're
Black
feeling
Market, yeah.
very, very happy with this game state right now.
I don't think I've ever played with this new spell. It's an interesting one, right? So the black market, it adds a ton of income. I don't know the actual number. I think
believe
I
it's
think it's a ton, right?
56. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a wild amount. However, if you don't get it to pop off, that feels so ridiculously bad because then you picked it for nothing.
Yeah.
And it was a risk for to go PTA into black market.
Yeah, for sure. Now, they did pay for it on Wave 11. They're receiving a pretty big send here, with both members of the worst polls pushing up to 40 workers. But as we said, Seto, X-God's overvalue, Ashton is pretty close too, and he's even got his rats underground, so if he feels any kind of pressure, he can just keep those things above. But the fact that X-God is plus 25 value here, plus 65 even, Ashton's probably feeling safe enough to keep his rats underground, and yeah, looks like he does. So, will they pay for their hubris? We've got 500 Mythium Sends walking into both lanes. X-God at least, I think, should go for a bit of a leak here.
X-God, he needs time for those gates to really ramp and be able to make all the spawns, and he's not going to get that time. However, the impact damage from the ranged units is going to do a good bit of work here. In fact, I think a really respectable amount of work. I'd be okay with this.
His split tank is just incredible as well. Yeah, he's actually leaking barely anything. Ashton also not leaking very much, only 66% over there, with 70% for X-God, but really not very dangerous leaks, I don't think. The percentages are quite high, but this King's going to mop it up pretty quickly. And having said that, Seto, the Mythium on the other side now, we've got 900 plus for Ashton, 750 for X-God. When these guys decide to go for the counter-attack, that is going to be terrifying.
Yeah, so if we look here, we see really kind of okay units for 16 from both Pocky and Fake One. So I don't think that they will die if they ink King next, because we have good AoE, we have good tanks, we have good damage out of the Fake One here. They have a Tantrum Hellraiser this wave, I believe, so that's a little unfortunate. However, we just need one more Wilet and we're guaranteed to hold next.
Oh yeah. 4 is, of course, the magic number, and we will have a decent number of chieftains as well, so assuming that Pakistan does want to go for a turbo buffed Yuzora or Arcter, he can do that, and that will be quite difficult for Ashton. Well, it won't be quite difficult. Ashton has such an obscene amount of Mythium.
Yeah, I mean, I guess 1,200 is a good amount going into the next wave with whatever you mop up going, with these rats as well. So,
and yeah,
it's dangerous.
That's a send. I think it's fair to say that's a send. Now, the worst polls, they do know it's coming. So one, they auto-send to get that income up. I assume they're going to spam King Spell as well. And we also have Fake One pulling out a couple of death caps. Now, I don't know if he showed those before. He didn't, right? Because he's redraw. So he's just redrawn into that. He's dropping them down here. There's no bears coming out from X-God. So the flowers should be able to do some decent work, honestly.
Yep, he's also got that juicy Rogue Wave, just going to turbo buff those flowers, and all of its nice tanking and damage.
They do have a fully upgraded King now, but the sends are enormous, Seto. We've got 1,200 Mythium for Fake. We've got nearly 1,500 there for Pakistan. Will either player be able to hold? Pakistan at least has cleared up the left side of the wave very, very quickly, and meanwhile his melees have made it onto the back line. But is that even a good thing? Because his high damage chieftains, they have been cleaned up by the right side split.
Absolutely here. However, Fake One being an absolute beast here with his Hades, with all of his units actually on this wave, really, really good here. I think they live, and I think they're going to be able to push like crazy people.
They do live, but this is a lot of gold. Let's keep an eye. So X-God had 37 gold before this started being cleaned up. He now has 577. No, it's still going 667. So X-God made 630 gold from that leak. That's game winning.
You could make an argument that that would be an amount of gold that is very respectable. However, speaking of respect, the Fake One absolutely disrespecting their opponents by dropping, count them, 2 eggs on their board this wave here.
Wow. I mean, he certainly has some egg sacks on him, that's fair to say. These large, bulbous objects that Fake One is waving in the face of his opponents. Ashton, meanwhile, he's shifting 1,000 gold, maybe trying to bait a wave 18 send. But XGod has 76, 77 workers, so if he decides to make Fake One pay next wave, I think he can achieve that goal. Oh, he's killing his own eggs? Yeah.
Never mind.
What a machine. Okay, well, at least it's less risky on 18 now.
For sure. Not that I ever think that they were in that much danger. Next, with Pocky with all those Swift tanks, the decent magic damage, the Disciples that would have been just absolutely rocketing off damage. Still, we are hunting because Ashton Butcher could not care less.
Yeah, I mean, the man is
wave.
just zero cares in the world, right? He's got some pretty big X-Acts on him himself, I think.
I think so as well. I think the most interesting thing here is the amount of effort we're putting into making sure that dragons get that regen. We saw what happened on wave 11. Like, it was really unfortunate. That one dragon probably would have popped off even more if it could have regen from 18 health.
Yeah, that was impressive. Now we have Ashton as well, building basically for wave 19. He has 3 Hades as well, which is a large number of Hades.
You could make an argument that the amount of Hades for 19 would be too many. I think the only person really not looking super duper on 19 is Pocky, and to cover that, they've decided to send here.
Oh yeah, XGod and Ashton have made the same decision, it seems. XGod, though, he's got quite some workers on him. He's got 107, in fact. He's kind of borderline suicide pushing here to try and break Fake One, who we did see pull off that pretty miraculous hold on 16, leaking only the Needlers. But I don't know that he's going to do quite so well this wave, although he did redraw into Mudman, which I think is pretty good. If you're expecting a send here, he can harden 4 Mudmen, pretty good value from that. But will it be enough? He's still 1,000 under value. Pakistan, he's closer to value, but as you said, a lot of his value is in these Swift tanks, which not really known for their holding power on a Pierce wave.
Correct, and we're going to be rocking off all
That's
of
a
that
big
damage.
one,
I love so much that I am seeing the Disciples actually clean up the Kraken for Pocky here.
Oh, Kogi
Yeah,
already,
Pocky,
yeah. Wow, those things really do pack a punch.
very happy with that result, probably. Cleaning up almost all of this. I think Fake One holds. It looks like everyone holds.
Wait, everyone holds?
Well, minus Pocky,
What
of
is this game? Actually, XGod will be leaking. Pakistan leaks 114%. Oh no, Fake One's going to leak as well. He almost got off another summon there, but not quite. The percentages are huge here. Again, 114 there for Fake One. Pakistan not far behind. But crucially, it's not deadly damage. It is, again, though, a lot of gold going over to the side of Xcrash.
Yeah, XGod probably pretty happy being plus 100 workers. That's a good number. And while, you know, the Fake One is almost really nicely behind, but that's the closest they have is the 69.3 workers. It's
yeah, but
not going to be enough.
XGod is in such an amazing position right now. And this is what I mean with the meta being completely shaken up, right? With the way that the devs have changed leak gold, you get so much more gold from leaking your opponent at this stage of the game. Remember, XGod was borderline suicide pushing, right? He went up to 100 plus workers, and now he's overvalue.
Absolutely in the most ridiculous position. And I think we've forgotten, but we need to remind ourselves that it was a black market pick from XGod National Butcher. So they have absolutely seen the benefits of that extra 50 gold at this point, as it's been 7 waves of just insane value.
Oh, they are so rich, Seto. And if you look at their income figures as well, we've got Ashton, who's on 250 more income compared to Pakistan. He's just absolutely running away with this game. But actually, it's XGod who's on top of the power score table, and that's a result of his turbo worker push on wave, or for the wave 19 send, followed by all of that leak gold that he picked up by managing to break Fake One with his 100+ workers. He's in such a good spot now. And how can Fake One ever hold the send when it comes? XGod already has 2,000 Mythium saved up.
Yeah, 2,000 Mythium. Fake One is minus 1,000 now. They'll be minus 3,000 next. And unfortunately, Ashton Butcher has really good units for next with the King Claws and the Mudmen. As in, he'll be able to delay forever.
Yeah, and Fake One, he's already 1,200 undervalue, right? He's in such a rough spot because he needs to be able to break Ashton, who, as you said, is on insane amounts of value. And he also needs to be able to hold the send coming out from XGod, which we know is going to be absolutely absurd. Looks like the players are holding their Mythium for now, but remember on the kind of bonus rounds past Wave 21, income doesn't mean anything, so it's all about, you can send after the wave finished, no problem. Question is, will any of the teams feel the urge here, especially with Fake One being 2.4k undervalue, or are they just thinking, oh, he's actually going to harden?
Yep, that's an oopsie.
It is an oopsie, but maybe he just pushes workers now.
So even if he pushes workers, just because we don't get that income, we don't really get that much value out of those creeps, it won't amount to very much in the way of workers at all. Obviously, some is better than none, and when you're going to leak so badly next wave anyway, I suppose it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, and he has pushed some workers actually. So Fake One making the same easy snap call that we mentioned ourselves. Good to know that as casters we can still keep up with the players, at least sometimes.
Yeah, definitely. We both definitely called that. I definitely did not think that it was not going to happen. So, yeah, we are the best.
Absolutely. Now, these sends coming out are enormous, Seto. We've got 3,300 Mythium for Fake One. He's going to be leaking everything. The question is, will Pakistan be able to hold long enough? And actually, the follow-up question is, will Ashton and XGod leak at all? Because Ashton is basically on value with good units here. XGod should be leaking. Fake One leaks 293% meanwhile. So an absolutely devastating blow there. And it does look like Ashton will be leaking. So the send is enough to get through. But Pakistan, he's not holding. And Ashton,
Yep.
he will be leaking, but he's holding more than long enough to secure their victory. Has to be said, the worst polls, given that they were on like a 10% win probability wave 9, they made this game way closer than I expected at that point in time.
Absolutely. It was the massive amount of king damage that they took on 16 or 17 that really kind of cemented the win for XGod and Butcher. They already had the black market going for them, but that 600 gold that you mentioned, that's actually an insane amount of gold.
Yeah.
And how do you come back from that?
It's just game winning, right? It makes the position so hard for the worst polls to come back into the game after that. And Ashton and XGod, they're the type of players who won't slip up when they're in that position. They know they're in a really strong lead and they're able to just kind of safely pilot their way home to victory. And we did see them pull that off. So look, mad props to Fake One and Pakistan for making that game as close as it was, given how difficult it looks like the early game was for them. But ultimately, XGod and Ashton, they were victorious, and that means, Seto, after a quick break, we're going to get to see them face off against Drakir and Lucy. That's going to be a game to watch.
Absolutely. The two absolute powerhouses, two teams that are very familiar with each other. I cannot wait until that one begins.
Excellent. All right, guys, it's been quite a long first series. Remember, that's only the first series of the day. We still got 2 more to come. So I think we should have a quick break here for ourselves. Seto, obviously, I don't know about you, my throat is quite sore after yapping for so long. For the players as well, give them a bit of a rest before their next series. So guys, don't go anywhere. We will be right back, Seto and I, in around 5 minutes time. The next game to start in about 10 minutes. So if you want to make yourself a cup of tea, go right ahead. And we will see you right back here in no time at all. Until then, I'll leave you with some lo-fi Yozora to keep yourselves entertained. And we'll be back. Goodbye.
So cold.
welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed this short break, resting our vocal cords. Seto and I are now back in action, and Seto looking fresh, it has to be said. You're kind of unbuttoning over here, feeling a bit risky.
Well, we're loosening up, and I got to make sure that I'm ready for the next match here. I got to have my full flexibility.
Flexibility at our age, Seto, is something that is far behind us, I feel.
I move Earth. Don't be ridiculous. It only took me a week to recover.
Now, Seto, we've seen some absolutely phenomenal games already today, and it feels like we've been casting for hours. But Seto, we've only managed to see one series so far. Remember, there's 3 series to be played today, and this next one is none other than Drakir and Lucy facing off against Xcod and Ashton Butcher. This is a game for the ages. I'm sure we've seen this game played out in many Nova Cup finals before now. And look, the fact, again, I kind of bang on about this every single month, but the fact that we see this caliber of games on day one is just testament to how far the whole community, really, the whole kind of competitive Legion community has come in the last couple of years. You get some really, really high caliber games, even on day one in the Nova Cups these days, and it's just amazing viewing.
I want to stress, because this is very important to me, we are having 7 Legend teams in the the third official month of Legion this year. So we are early in the season. We already have almost a full Legend lineup. And this is just absolutely remarkable, because these are all top tier, top caliber talent players.
Oh, for sure. And Legend casters as well, Seto, right?
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
I'm established now. I told you, I've made it.
Yeah, we're both top 10-ish, right?
I think
give or take a digit.
No. Listen, and this is going to sound a little weird, but I think you could be number 1 again.
Oh, I don't know about that. Number 1 in my house, maybe.
Just walk around putting the foot down.
Although, having said that, my 10-year-old has started playing Legion lately, so maybe he's going to give me a run for my money.
I would pay, and I want you to know this, I would pay to see father-child games. I want more of it. We have someone new in the community, Ceci. He's working his way up, but he plays with his dad, and it has got to be some of the most wholesome content in the world. I told you last month, I think it was, I tried to get my family into it. They all looked at me like I was a crazy person, and,
But they do that anyway, right? It doesn't matter if you're talking about gaming or no.
That's actually fair. That's totally true.
But Seto, enough about us. We do have a lobby open and ready. We've got all 4 players in here. So once my co-caster joins us, guys, we're going to get this next game underway. In fact, that does give me enough time to change up the scoreboard. So thank you, if anything, Seto, for taking your time.
It was totally calculated boomer strats right there.
Okay, so a fresh best of 3 is here, and what a best of 3 it's going to be. We've got everyone in the lobby, and we should be able to get the match underway as soon as possible. Actually, oh, never mind. Okay, Xcod did say he needed to be right back, but that was 7 minutes ago. So the players are in fact ready. Yeah. Well, Seto, I definitely can't call it either way between these 2 teams. I do think Drakir and Lucy probably edge it in terms of total Nova Cup victories. But Ashton and Xcod, they're no slouches. They kind of dominated the scene a couple of years ago. Very, very well-accomplished players. We saw how well they played their previous series, winning 2-0 over the Worst Poles, who, by the way, pretty damn good players themselves. So I don't know. Look, I think probably if we're just looking at ELO, then Drakir and Lucy probably have the edge. But it's so close. It could very easily go either way.
I want to make it the early prediction here. This is our first 3-game series, and I don't even think I'm taking a lot of risks by saying that.
I think you could be onto something there, Seto. And without any further ado, game number 1 is here. So let's find out who's going to take the first of the series.
So X-God and Butcher is showing a lot of synergy right off the bat. Within the same 0.1 of a second, they had both selected their masterminds. We got the redraw along with the lock-in, and I like the lock-in because we on the other side we have a very similar but also very different role. We have Chaos with redraw, so it's like redraw every wave for Lucy.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of variance there. Drakir going for the early game rolling that he did last time we saw him play redraw. So he clearly favours going for a super comfortable opener, and he's willing to spend a few extra gold to make sure he gets it.
Yep, absolutely. I am very happy to see here on his side the pack rat treasure hunt. I think that this does leak to a snail in its current state. I wouldn't mind seeing this go away in favor of the polywog there, but at the same time, Drakir knows more than I do.
Yeah, I think when he plays it like that, he's just placing down kind of good units that he finds as he rolls through his first kind of 3 or 4 different iterations. And then if he finds something better, he can sell it and replace it, and if he doesn't, he keeps what he's got.
Yep, sitting on the catapult with his current setup, I don't necessarily see that going anywhere. Obviously, he'll re-roll before then. Going into the next couple waves, I'm not entirely sure what his plan is. It's got to be to hold on to the polywog so that he can place it down and then maybe re-roll a little bit more, unless he knows that with his casket, he wants more arcane tank in the gargoyle and possibly even the badger or the wild shroom. Like he's got 4 arcane tank possibilities right now.
Yeah. I mean, he's going to roll out of that pretty quickly, I think. He's just going to make sure he gets the polywog down on 3. Now, I think it's a really good idea there from Drakir to stick on the polywog because, in my opinion at least, it's probably the best tier 1 in the game. It's just so good for the first 6 waves, and that's kind of all you want from your tier 1, right? Then you can start to transition towards more expensive units. But I think, yeah, very solid there for him to roll a few times, get a really good tier 1, and now his first 6 waves are kind of planned out, and he can redraw again after that.
Yep. So, as you said, it's the first 6 waves that it has its strength, and then, it does obviously get those diminishing returns. But by that time, hopefully you've established yourself. And also, to his credit, he's had very fast waves so far. So his treasure hunts have been doing some paying off here.
Yeah, I mean, he's in a pretty good position. If we just bring up that Mythium chart, actually, X-God is on par, if not ahead, given that he has got those 7 workers. Ashton not far behind, but Lucy kind of slacking there with about 10 Mythium less than all the other players in the game.
For sure, and her wave 4 looks absolutely fine with her nightmare. She is obviously hoping for the nightmare. The butcher on 5. But the doggos here will help clean up at least this wave and next if worse comes to worse, unless she decides she doesn't need them at all.
And look at this, right? We've got most of the players in the game just going for their income, but Drakir, he's really piling on the pressure now. He's got nearly 80 Mythium. He hasn't sent here on 4, and if we look at X-God's lane, he's looking really weak on wave 5.
X-God not looking great on wave 5. They do have the Sea Dragon, which is a perfectly fine and acceptable unit. However, I don't love the Cage of Pain out of Drakir. I don't know if you ever want to sink 230 gold into that unit pre-7, but again, he knows more than I do.
Yeah, he's going for that Hermit here on 5 as well. Now, X-God actually going for the Green Devil over the Sea Dragon. I mean, it's decent single target magic damage, and he just wants to make sure he can kill the big Scorpion on 5. But with the Hermit here as well, I think his DPS is so lacking. I don't even know if he's going to kill the big Scorpion. We'll find out.
We will find out. He added that extra seedling, which is going to do negative damage with that Hermit in the mix here. So X-God, the lane to pay attention to here. If he just kills the king, I think everyone is happy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but his Green Devil is fully tanking. The Cage of Pain tanked absolutely nothing for him. He's not going to kill a single unit here. X-God, oh no! This series absolutely kicking off in the spiciest of ways. Drakir leaking 58% to a snail, but Ashton Butcher leaking 42 as well at the same time as his teammate leaking literally everything. X-Crash, their king, is about to have a bit of a run-in with some Scorpion infestations.
so with all that being said, we only just crested back to the 50% mark. I don't know what it was that Ashton and X-God had done to Jules that they gave him so much of an so much advantage early on, as Drakir had been stacking all that Methium, which adds to your value, for so long. They didn't have the best value going into that last wave. They did decide not to hunt this wave, as they're not really that good here.
Yeah. And look at this. So X-God, his position quite well reflected, I think, on the power score table after that colossal mistake on wave 5, putting him in a really rough spot. Well, mistake? Was it a mistake, or was it just Drakir kind of reading him like a book?
Probably that reading him like a book thing, as he did such a good job. And again, so I mentioned earlier that I didn't like the Cage of Pain pre-7 for Drakir. What I meant to say was I didn't like the Cage of Pain for X-God pre-7. That's what I really meant to say.
Yeah, and it absolutely bit him in the behind on wave 5. Now, at least he's in a pretty good spot now. He's extremely strong on wave 7 and 8, so he's able to try and catch up a little bit on those workers. But Lucy's just already leagues ahead. Look, she's on 12 workers compared to the 9 of X-God and Ashton. Drakir is a bit lower on worker count, but he's been hunting every single wave. So the Mythium amounts that we said were quite tight back on wave 2, wave 3, are now quite comfortably in favour of Drakir and Lucy. Ashton is managing to keep up, but X-God he's already 20 Mythium behind. And that's when it starts to really add up, right? Because you send a little less every wave, you have 6 less income every wave, and it just kind of snowballs from there.
Absolutely, and if they don't do something soon, the snowball is going to continue, because they are now both behind in workers. Drakir is still hunting. He hunted this wave, which makes perfect sense. He's got his Cage of Pain, very solid unit here, and he's got the damage that he needs to clean up the rest of the bloblets here.
Yeah.
So Lucy, if she ever rolls that Butcher, which she just did, is in a ridiculously good spot here.
Mm-hmm. Classic Chaos player, making sure you've got your Nightmare and a couple of supporting units down, and then rolling the Butcher at the perfect moment. However, X-God and Ashton, they are starting to try and make some proactive plays of their own. They stockpiled their bricks here on wave 8, and if I look at the boards of Drakir, well, actually Lucy maybe less so now with the Butcher, right? That does give her pretty good options on wave 9. I was about to say they're both really weak on 9. Drakir still is. Lucy, not so much anymore.
For sure. I mean, Drakir can do something kind of funny with the possible Chieftain going into the next wave if they are getting sent next wave, but you are also thinking, well, Lucy is good 9, 10, it doesn't matter. Drakir is not great 9, 10, so maybe it does for them. What are we going to do?
Drakir does have that catapult as well, which we've seen be an absolute powerhouse of a unit in a couple of the games on stream today, so we'll have to see how well he does, if indeed the send comes here, because Ashton and X-God still holding on to the Mythium for now. And a
Nice
very long wave here. Yeah, here comes the send. Okay, we've got Mimic Brute out of Ashton. We've got only income from X-God, so perhaps correctly reading that the head chef going to be very, very difficult for him to leak here against Lucy, who's also on value. And yes, we do have this crawling catapult coming out from Drakir. The question is, will it be enough? Because he's quite lacking in tank value if he goes for that. Like, it's a ton of DPS, but his front line is just going to get mowed down.
His front line is going to get mowed down. He's also got the masks in such a way that it's going to drag the split closer to the catapult. Oh, cool. You know what? Actually, the Millennium is going to be much better.
Yeah, okay, interesting. So he had the catapult option, decided to re-roll anyway, found something he liked better, and went for this Millennium here. Meanwhile, we've got an absolutely perfectly tanking Priestess, not only tanking the pretty much ideal amount of creep, but also surviving. Still going to be a leak, 83% there from Drakir, but Lucy with that head chef, very well rolled there by the Chaos player. She is able to hold and I think fully cover.
Oh, definitely. That head chef already basically solos wave 9, and it's still full life. So,
Yeah.
what can you do about that?
Yeah, not an awful lot. So, meanwhile, Ashton, he did leak against the Brute Robo himself, but again, Xcot is able to cover this one. What I'm starting to worry about, however, is that Barnes Kieran, they are now being threatened with a 69% win rate from Jules and Seto. We know what that means. It is the curse. Jules has cast his evil eye upon Drakir and FC Lucy, and they're pretty much guaranteed to lose this one now.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, as we know, as it's well documented with Skavtrold himself, that when the 69 is offered, you do not take it because it is always going to leave you wanting.
Absolutely. Now, Drakir and Lucy, how are they going to shake off this evil eye? It looks like the answer is by saving their Mythium here on wave 10. There's only defensive spells though, so maybe not expecting a massive wave 11-12 send, we'll have to see. Maybe they just go for Income King again.
Perhaps
Drakir's
they
actually
do.
leaking here, not on fire.
So Drakir is trailing Lucy just a little bit. They did hunt here greedily. However, they have 3 powerhouse baby units on the board in the Azeria, the Gun, and the Millennium. So they have damage secured for the next while. So any wave it is that they do fear, they are going to be pretty much just fine. Also, just securing the next couple waves as well here.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Excellent play. 3 heroes selected. Do we see a Pulve out of Drakir?
Pulverizer looks interesting. Hero less good for him, I think, given that he doesn't really have a kind of aura cluster just yet. Lucy
He could have one if he wanted.
Yeah, he can. I mean, he's redraw as well. He can keep going, but yeah, he just goes for that Pulverizer, looking pretty good on his Azeria, and there it goes. Meanwhile, the hero from Lucy, really good on a Doppelganger Head Chef Circle.
Absolutely. And Gunpowder is one of my favorite combos that I always seem to execute very poorly because I know that they're really, really great together with their similar ranges and the way that, Podo wants to stand in front of the gun, get down Mr. President in a very strange kind of way. But it's just unbelievable, the 3 main carries he's got. If he can get supporting units for those, I don't think that Drakir is in any shape to lose this game whatsoever.
He's in a really good spot, actually. But, having said that, really it's Lucy who's in the good spot. It looks like Barnes Kieran have been shifting their power from Drakir to Lucy. And actually, economically, things are looking quite even. Now, clearly, look, the income is massively in favour of Barnes Kieran, but X-Crash, they have a decent amount of extra Mythium. Of course, they didn't send there on wave 11. But the one probably deciding factor really is the King HP right now. X-Crash took a lot of damage in the early game. They do have a little bit of regen, ticking that back up to full, but it's only 4. It's going to take a long time to heal.
Lucy here praying that she gets something good for next wave, kind of shifting all of that gold. And I guess maybe she could go for a gate if she wanted to, or perhaps I'm not actually in her head, but kind of saving that gold, hoping for a better unit on 13, maybe baiting the 13 by doing so.
Maybe, but they do go for a 13 send. Lucy does get a full Hellgate out. Very, very powerful indeed on this wave. And actually really good against Four Eyes, right? Because Four Eyes is all about ramping damage, and the gate is all about sending out multiple smaller units. So very, very good against that, and just in general, a very strong unit for this wave. With Hero on top of that, I think Lucy's got a really good chance to just straight up hold this wave, despite being minus 300 value.
Absolutely. Hero, Butcher, Gates is kind of gross, and the fact that she was able to roll it on this wave just tells you everything you need to know about Chaos. It's totally fair and balanced.
So now the head chef goes down. The doppelganger still not taking focus though, and this is what I mean. So the gate creeps just one by one, tanking. The Four Eyes not really getting its full value, but it did take the doppelganger down at least. Now it does look like Lucy's gonna go for a bit of a leak, or is she? I mean, she's still got 3 of these magic creeps alive. As soon as those things attack the Four Eyes, it's gonna die real quick.
Yep, look at that hero absolutely do so much work for her.
Wow. That is so good. And look at this. Lucy now, she's on shutdown. 50 gold bounty on her head. She's in a really good position. Drakia, he's climbing up the power score table because, of course, they did save their Mythium there on 13. But yeah, I think the fact that Lucy was able to hold there, despite being minus 300, just puts her in such a phenomenal lead in the game. And things are looking rough if you're an X-Crash fan.
Absolutely. Wave 15 for sure out of them, I think anyway. Just because they are a little bit undervalued because Lucy pushed like a maniac here. 33.8 workers when the next closest competition is 10 behind that. That's a 25% increase over their next closest competition.
Yeah, and just looking at that Mythium as well, Lucy's pushing up to the 600 mark now, and here comes the send on wave 15. We've got Siege Realms coming out, and they just look phenomenal against what Ashton has on the board. X-God, I mean, he's got good unit quality, I think, but the send is just going to be so large that I think he might just be overwhelmed.
Absolutely. We know that archers are pretty good on wave 15, wave 14 as well. We do have a giant badger, which is really great. Badger, I don't think has any weak waves, much like Adam, but the lionesses aren't going to do really anything for Ashton. Maybe they can get the life binders to heal that badger forever, but I'm not sure if I see it.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of needs a miracle, right? He's minus 825 value here on Ashton, so yeah, it's going to be a bit of a tall order for him to be able to hold here, no matter what. The sends are enormous coming out. We've got 600 for X-God. We've got 780 Mythium there for Ashton, and these Siege Rams are just so good because most of his DPS is either ranged or pierce or both. And yeah, he's able to kill them, but he can only kill, what is it, 2 wave creeps after that? The Siege Ram's just surviving for so long there. Yeah, that's an 83% leak for Ashton. X-God actually doing incredibly well. Is the Starcaller ever enough? The shotgun does so much damage, but no, he won't get another shot. That boss will leak with 1400 HP. Lucy leaks. Drakia leaks, actually both of them leaking to the income send, so that could be interesting. Meanwhile though, X-Crash, their King HP dropping even lower than it was already.
So it does look like, as far as Starcaller goes, 2 cannons still greater than 1 watt. No way!
Oh no! They were literally 1 king upgrade away from surviving, but look, even if they had managed to kind of scrape themselves through that wave on 1% HP, the position was quite rough there, I think, for X-God and Ashton. They were so far behind after some really rough goings on in the early game with that wave 5, an absolute disaster there from X-God, not getting a single unit, and Ashton managing to Waldo there as well, leaking a little bit to 3 snails. They were 46% HP on wave 5, Seto.
Yeah, that's not... So we talked at the beginning of the game how King Dans and was it Witterson can get their king down to 20% HP without it being that much of an issue. However, when you don't kill any creeps in a wave and you're not Fiesta, even if you are Fiesta, generally speaking, that's not going to do a lot for you. And his mate also didn't hold, so
it just costs you so much gold, right? Like you're losing a ton of gold yourself. You're giving your opponent loads of Bert's gold as well. And yeah, look, Drakia and Lucy, they were able to keep the pressure up throughout and steer that one home to a pretty easy win for themselves, I think. Now, X-Crash, I'm not counting them out. Remember, you called it, Seto, before this series. This will be our first 3-0 of this, 3-game series of the stream. So that means, according to the script, X-God and Ashton have to win the next one, right?
That's correct. We had a rough game. That's okay. That happens. And all we do is we shake the dust off, and then we continue to, just drag our opponents down with us, I guess. Because like these are two high caliber teams, very experienced. There's nothing that's going to like break their mental as far as okay, we lost a game. It happens. We've all lost games that we should have won or not done that silly thing in, but we're going to bounce right back. I guarantee it.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed, because the viewers, I think, deserve a 3-game series to be played out, and it's going to be pretty entertaining viewing, I think, either way. So we'll have to see, because I don't know that Drakir and Lucy have read the script, and they might just be trying to go for a 2-0.
Well, I didn't hand the script off to them, and I don't think you did too. Just competitive integrity being what it is, and Trakir's got enough stuff in his pockets that we don't need to give him anything. So, let's just make sure that we follow the script as it was given to us.
Well, talking about the script, Seto, here we are entering stage left. It's Barnes Kieran versus X-Crash. They are 1-0 up in this best of 3 series. Will it be a 2-0, or will X-Crash be able to bring the series back to a tie? Let's find out, Seto. It's game number 2.
Might be a remake.
Uh,
We have a lot of really good sports in here, so I'm going to assume that this is going to be a remake. Butcher with a little bit of a misclick here.
yeah. Okay,
Can
Drakir's saying a remake is fine. Okay, so maybe just a false start there from the players. Nice to see from Drakir and Lucy. They were happy to go for the remake. Very, very well sporting. They probably could have denied that if they wanted to. And I guess Ashton just clicked a mastermind that he didn't want to play. All right, the lobby is already back up, so the players staying on their toes. We've got things on the way. And apologies for the false start there, guys. Trust me, this game is going to be worth the wait when it finally gets up and running. Looking very sunny for you there, Seto.
So, because of daylight savings time, there was a little bit of confusion, but NA is celebrating a bit before EU. So, our apologies. Our sun is still out at this hour, and also that was my fault. That last game, I actually forgot to hand the script off to X God and Ashton, so they knew that they were supposed to win the next game. They were.
Oh, but now they know. Now they know.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
They're picking the right masterminds this time to get them the victory. So we are good to go.
All right, we've got all of our players back in the lobby, and I think things are going to start very, very shortly. So once again, guys, apologies there for the false start, and it looks like the loading screen is here, Seto. So, to reiterate what a Pennywise man once said, we are 1-0 in the lead for Barnes Kieran. Will they storm this series, or will X-Crash be able to bring things back to a tie and play out the full best of 3? We're about to find out, because here it is, game number 2.
Game number 2 begins, and Drakir again with the Megamind, however this time rolling Kingsguard. That's going to feel really good, because if we can make this game go long, we have a black market game on the board potentially again. However, if we're a little bit afraid, we can go with the Divine Blessing. And then here's the difficult question. What is better, black market or creditor?
That's a tricky one, right? Because like, if you maximally greed the creditor, that's 270 gold, yeah? Now, black market is... Did you say it was 50 income?
I think it's 56 income, so
56.
therefore... And you have to wait until after 13.
Yeah.
It doesn't activate until after 13 to get that money, whereas creditor,
Oh, wow.
3 waves ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess it's like... In those cases, like where we saw the games going to wave 21, then I guess black market is better. But anything short of that, like a wave 18, 19 finish, you're probably just going to be in a better position with your creditor, assuming that you were able to maximally greed it and not get punished on any of those waves.
Wow.
This is an interesting start here from Drakir, going with the banker, using the short sell ability, so it's got a 10% attack speed buff. I assume that makes him hold here?
I don't know. I haven't tested it. In fact, I've been too afraid to play since it's changed, and I was like, oh geez, 2 gold, is that really worth anything in the beginning of the game? And I mean, I guess the answer is no. If Drakir says I'd rather have 2 rats, which, I mean, to be fair, that's really, really good.
What an interesting opener, though. The solo banker plus short sell just barely holding while having 2 rats underground. However, and this is the important thing, Ashton's playing Fiesta, causing a very, very long wave while Drakir's on those 2 workers. Now, rats, extremely overpowered on wave 1, but if that wave happens to be particularly long, perhaps because you've got a Fiesta player, they're slightly less so.
However, if we were to take the mark of where Lucy was not able to get 20 Mythium with 5 workers, then I think it was worthwhile. I think it's still very worthwhile there for Drakir. So, because he's at 35, she's at 28. We'll see what happens coming into the next wave here.
Yeah. Now we've got Snail King up, so Ashton, did not try to leak Drakir here on 2. Drakir is very safe actually with 185 value, but the single snail Lucy will be leaking. It's only 1 or 2 creeps, but again it's going to be a long, long wave while XGod and Ashton have some really nice worker leads here. We've got 6 workers on both of those guys. Ashton does not Fiesta this time around, but it's Lucy this time causing the long wave. So X-Crash really benefiting from that worker lead.
Absolutely. The banker should still live here, so thankfully Drakir will get his 2 gold. We're not so super afraid of that. And I think the bigger sin is Butcher not leaking that wave. Zeus is really shockingly good on wave 2, as the damage isn't the best, but they can kind of live for way too long.
Yeah, for sure. Now, he didn't get his Fiesta, but he might be getting one here. There's a couple of snails walking into his lane. He's minus 90 value. XGod, he's minus 110, but with kind of perfect units for the wave.
Yeah, Slime Mommy did get a little bit of a nerf as far as kind of killing wave 3 solo, but...
Oh, it's 3 shots now, yeah, okay.
The Gargoyle just infinitely strong. So all the arcane tanks that XGod could ever possibly need, he is redraw, so we're not actually worried about it. Spectral Scallywag is not actually in any danger here to the Lizard, right? Is there something I need to know?
No. This
yeah, okay, I was like, what?
Unkillable on wave 3 and 4.
I'm so confused.
it's literally unkillable. Meanwhile, though, Ashton, he did leak, so he did get his Fiesta here on 3, maybe a bit more than he was hoping for there, with 11 creeps making it through. XGod will be able to clean up most, if not all of that, with his remaining slimes in the mid. However, I think it might be the case that X-Crash are taking a tiny tad king damage here.
Tiny Tad King damage. Wow, that was shockingly hard to say. However, this worker lead now for XGod and Ashton actually is going to start to matter. Drakir is still on 4 workers. While he does have 2 rats hunted, and that's very good, that wave was a minute and a half long.
Wow. I'm impressed that you're timing it. And yeah, look at these total Mythium counts. That's probably quite small for the viewers at home. So I can tell you that Ashton actually has 20 more Mythium compared to Drakir. So the fact that the waves have all been long, despite how strong pack rats are in the early game, Ashton in a really good Mythium lead so far. And it's only wave 4.
Ashton here sending the Dino into Drakir, who isn't very good on this wave. The cat is probably his best unit, and he's just going to spend an eternity on that Dino. So
yeah.
the
It does
banker
go down
also...
though, but so does the banker. Meanwhile, I mean, the cat is just chewing through the wave. It has the magical 5-stack number, so no bother there. Ashton didn't full send though. Oh no! No, this is the problem with Oathbreakers, or any kind of AoE unit really in a Fiesta build, because you want to be low value, but the problem with AoE is you just end up leaking the whole wave on like half HP.
RNG TD does still exist, despite the devs doing their damnedest to fix all of it.
Yeah, I mean, Drakir's clearly just pressed the bad luck button in his dev hack console, right? So Ashton really feeling the brunt of that as a result. XGod applying some pretty good pressure here to Lucy, it has to be said. Just going for the income send, though. So a little bit of what we saw a couple of games ago. Lucy doing herself, actually, skipping a couple of waves, just sending income, trying to keep her opponent low workers, but not working this time. Lucy, she's had the worker lead for a long time.
He's had the worker lead for a long time, and she has the equivalent of the Yuzora and Sea Dragon Open, where you're not going to be able to leak the Spectral Scallywag ever.
No shot.
It's
no shot.
just going to keep getting more and more powerful the more damage it takes. It's like Goku. It just gets stronger and stronger the more damage it takes. It's really wild.
Fantastic analogy, Seto. And the Super Saiyan herself, Lucy, is comfortably holding 160 cents. It was only Income King, though, so X-God not too disheartened by that.
Yep, they are still pushing very, very strongly. They have the 11 and 12 workers, whereas Drakir and Lucy have the 9 and 10. Now, you're only seeing the beginnings of a snowball here. Pardon, but Ashton here with that 84 income, that's 9 more than both of their opponents. So it's just going to continue to kind of spiral out of control here unless Lucy can do something with the Mythium she's starting to stockpile.
Yeah. Do you know what I've literally just now clocked, though, Seto? Is that both members of Barnes Kieran are playing Kingsguard. So we had Drakir Megamind into it, and we had Lucy just naturally picking it. Is their king just invincible?
So their king is not only invincible, but it really leads to the possibility of black market having giga value.
Oh,
because
right, yeah.
if we're able to get into that part of the game where that mid game where the king just feels like it is invincible, there's nothing that can stop it, then Lucy and Drakir could have the edge depending on the way that things go here, and Lucy dropping another unit of a unit.
Yeah, wow. I've heard this unit is pretty good in the current meta, by the way. Not really had much of a chance to play it myself, but I've heard it's very, very strong.
I will be one of the ones who can attest that it feels okay to play again. There was a long time there where many players would not pick Sov despite having nothing for 13. They'd still rather take their chances with anything else.
Yeah, so good to see make Sov great again.
Yep, that's it's been a motto for way too long, and you know the people were calling and calling, and then you know what? Out of nowhere, we got shocked, and Sov is great again.
Yay! All
right. That was so painful.
Now, Drakir creating a very long wave here, going in with -165 value, even able to hold. The Slime's just making it the longest wave in recorded human history, and they are getting out this mammoth wave 8, and as a result, we've got Mole coming here from Drakir, we've got Mimic from Lucy, X-God and Ashton. They're gonna have some problems trying to hold here, I think.
Possibly a few problems trying to hold here. We do have the snake. Like, if we could make that kind of big and we can protect the slime mommy to let the snake go on forever, you know, we're probably fine here on X-God side. However, Ashton, he's going to need to delay forever if he really wants that gate. Like, if he really wants that gate, he's got to delay forever into the Mimic. So, could be a little bit of a rough go here.
Yeah, the mole interaction with Coiler, though, making it 3-shot the wave. It's a 50% DPS nerf to Coiler just because Mole is in the lane. And look at this. X-God is actually going to leak massively, it seems. I don't even think he's going to kill the Mole.
Yep, the Mole is absolutely going to get through. It's a really good send here from Drakir. I think that when we talk about how good the snake is, we talk about how good the snake is without help.
Yeah.
The Mole absolutely is kind of the secret sauce for the Deep Coiler. The Hermit is okay too, because it will do the same thing. It will make it a 3-hit shot for a single Deep Coiler, but very, very good send here from Drakir.
Yep. And look at this. This is a little bit of deja vu, Seto. We've got X-Crash on a really worrying amount of King HP, still quite early on in this series. I don't know, man. I mean, I'm pretty sure we handed them the script in between the false start and this game, but it seems, I don't know, they're trying to make it interesting.
I forgot to give X-God the Canadian script and Ashton the
Ah.
Bulgarian script, so that's
Oh
my fault.
no, you swapped
I
them
switched
around,
it.
and
I did,
X-God sat
yeah.
there scratching his head, unable to read the Bulgarian script. And Ashton has no idea why there's maple syrup all over his copy.
Really terrible. I weep for us Americans who are no longer going to have access to the the Canadian goods, as in the whiskeys and the maple syrups that come from our northerly neighbors.
Yeah, that's a bit of a shocker, I'm afraid. Maybe not one. An overcut stream though.
What? Oh, true. Hey, look at this. Lucy's got a sovereign on 10. That's really good.
That's quite good indeed. We don't have a send coming out from X-God, though. Now the question is, will they be able to punish on 11 and 12, where Lucy's looking quite weak? They're going to need to make something happen, because Jules is only giving them 25% odds of making this game happen.
Well, thankfully, Jules doesn't know what we know, because Lucy has an OK tank in both the Oathbreaker and the Flower. However, she has nothing to kill a GK right now, and X-God could save for it if he wanted to.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I think they just... Well, they just don't have too much Mythium, right? And meanwhile, Drakir and Lucy are piling on the pressure. We've got 350 there from Drakir, so he would have been able to go for a Mammoth Send here on wave 11 if he wanted to, but they're still stockpiling their bricks. And Ashton and X-God, rather than wondering when they can break their opponents, they're probably just desperately trying to survive right now.
Desperately trying to survive, which is always not the position that you want to be in. Their late game, I don't exactly see it from X-God. Like, he's got a really cool potential. They both have kind of a really cool potential Antler Gate Guard and even a potential Butcher if X-God's building was a little bit clever. But right now, the late game isn't necessarily secured. X-God does have redraw, and he did go black market, so I'm thinking he's trying to make it so that they make it to the late game.
Yeah. And Ashton, meanwhile, he took the taxed allowance. I'm actually wondering if that was intentional or if he just simply ran out of time.
With all of these spells, I think maybe he wasn't anticipating a ascend less, so possibly the 95 gold was going to be worth more to him. I don't entirely know.
I guess, yeah. I mean,
Because
X-Guard with the black market is quite greedy, given the amount of pressure that they were under. Um, but yeah, I mean, the send is here. They do correctly read it. They've gone for Income and King, so they are just trying to stay in the game. But that's going to be a tall order. They're receiving a really large amount of Mythium here.
large amount of Mythium, they're just about on value. If, okay, and there he goes. I was wondering if X-God was going to spend that last 200 gold or not.
He does.
Thankfully, he does. The snake is going to get hung up on the robos for a little bit here. I actually really love sending robos into snakes because it does make them take kind of a while to get to the wave to deliver that delicious single target damage.
There's going to be a bit of a leak as a result there for X-God. Can even kill one more? He can. Ashton, though? He's just now killed the Ghost Knight, and we've got like an AFK White Mane up here. But wait, is it enough? Are these things just literally unkillable, or is there enough creeps?
There are enough creeps. There was a little bit of an unfortunate wrap too onto his gate. However, generally speaking, I think he's perfectly happy with the way that turned out. His tax allowance is going to work really well. They should live here, and X-God should eventually reap the benefits of that black market.
Yeah, but having said that, Drakir picked up the black market as well. So, you know, Ashton's going to get that. Sorry, X-God's going to get that benefit, but Drakir is making sure that he keeps up the pace as well. And remember, Seto, we've got a double Kingsguard thing going on over here. So 19% damage reduction, 19% attack speed bonus as well. This thing's going to be really difficult to bring down. Add on top of that, it's already on 100% HP, so X-Crash really have a tall order to try and bring that baby down.
Absolutely. And you want another cherry on top here. They've got a really, really sick sovereign happening here from Lucy. She's got the divine blessing on that. And that's kind of usually your get out of jail free card for when it comes to taking king damage, because it usually gives you enough to clean up either your wave or a good chunk of your mate's wave on a bad send.
Hmm.
And they have all of the cards right now. They can send whenever they want. They're not weak next. So it could be a little bit of a rough time here, and we are getting dangerously close to that 69%.
Yeah, it's very, very close. Jules is just edging them right now, it seems. But meanwhile, we've got Ashton managing to stay overvalued despite Lucy having by far the highest worker count in the game. I'm guessing this is going to come down to a big wave 15 send from both sides, where Lucy should leak decently by rights. I mean, these things pretty good. This thing obviously an absolute powerhouse, but remember, they don't need to hold. They just need to make sure that their opponents leak, because with that Kingsguard King and all of the upgrades and the 100%, they can afford to leak, while their opponents really can't.
Lucy's already identified that. She went full Sui this wave. She pushed all of her gold into workers. She said, I'm never leaking here next, and if I'm going to just end the game and have Drek do his part, and then the king finish up the rest, I can do whatever I want to make sure that I end the game. So
Yeah.
the cards that she's playing are very strong, and I love the fact that she was willing to do that. Shoot. It happened.
Happens to the best of us, my friend. Okay, we've got some massive sends coming out here. We've got Shaman Witch from Drakir. We've got double Ghost Knight pack from Lucy. The sends from Xgod and Ashton, not quite the same size, but they do have more value. The problem is they cannot afford to leak with just 39% HP remaining on that king, while Barnes Kieran, they can easily afford to leak quite decently here.
X-God having the 0 gold buff gives me a lot of hope for the future of our opponents here. Makes me really confident that maybe they were able to switch the script back, and we did also just clean up that witch before. I think it got out only one Froggo.
Yeah, that was actually really nice there. The Coiler worth its weight in gold here for Xgod, it seems. Meanwhile, Ashton, his backline has been reached, so a lot of that magic DPS disappearing. He will be leaking, as will Xgod. Are they going to be able to survive here? I think the answer, Seto, unfortunately, is no, and it looks like Barnes Kieran, despite this 69% on the scoreboard, are going to turn this into 100%. That looks like a 2-0. Barnes Kieran, your first semi-finalists, making their way through till tomorrow's games.
My God, if anyone can overcome the 69, it's Drakir and Lucy.
Yeah. Maybe now that Drakir has joined the development team, he's able to withstand the pressure of that 69 from his colleague now, Mr. Jules. It seems to be the case.
Yeah, for sure. You can tell that there are a few favors being passed between colleagues there, and it's really paying dividends.
Very, very good. And I hope that's still appropriate in the workplace. I'm sure those guys know how to keep things professional. Meanwhile, Seto. So we do now have that first semi-finalist confirmed on the side of Barnes Kieran, storming their way through to tomorrow's games. We've seen some really impressive play from those guys today. Do we have the result from the other side of the bracket yet, or are things still underway over there? And at the same time, is that game still ongoing between Fake One and Fuzzlebur? It looks like it is.
You were doing an excellent job stalling while we were both gathering the same information, so let's probably just do a little sneak peek there.
Oh no, it looks like that other game has ended as well, with a 2-0 victory for the side of the worst polls. So Pakistan, RQS, and the Fake One, they're going to have one more shot at glory here on the stream today, because they will get to face the last chance match up against Xgod and Ashton Butcher. Will those guys be able to make it through to tomorrow's semi-finals, or will X Crash come off the back of this defeat with Drakir and Lucy and then earn their spot instead. That's going to be an exciting game to watch, guys, but we will have to have another 10-minute break before we get that one underway. So Seto, I think for you and me, we'll be back here in around 5 minutes time for some more chat. And the next game, guys, will be in around 10 minutes from now. So don't go anywhere. It's going to be a really exciting one. And again, until then, I'll leave you with the delicious lo-fi Yozora to keep you entertained. So we'll see you in around 5 minutes. Goodbye. Welcome back, Twitch chat. Welcome back. You are here just in time for the final series of the day. And Seto, it looks like every time I see you, you've got one less item of clothing, my man.
I don't know what's happening with these games.
Now, you know that of business that your wife was into last month, the reason you didn't have the
Yeah.
camera. You're not in on that yourself, are you, with the kind of clothes coming off time by time, or
That's a really good question.
do you have an answer? That's a face. On that bombshell, guys, I think we should probably move on and talk about the games instead. So, what a match we've got ahead of us, Seto. We've got the Fake One and Pakistan RQS, who we did see, unfortunately, losing their first game up against Barnes Kieran, our eventual victors of the day. And they will have one more chance to make it through to the semi-finals tomorrow. But the hurdle they have to overcome to get there is in the shape of XGod and Ashton Butcher, so quite some hurdle indeed. This is going to be a tough match for both teams, I think. Now, just my own internal biases, I think XGod and Ashton are going to take this one. Just off the back of their kind of past performance, the fact that they've won Nova Cup a bunch of times. You know, they've got enough of those trophies up on their shelves, whereas Fake One and Pakistan, they've had some really good performances lately, but they've not quite managed to convert it into a Nova Cup championship just yet. However, you know, there's a first time for everything, and those guys have been improving every single time we've seen them on the stream. So maybe this month is the month for Fake One and Pakistan. They've got a hell of a hill to climb to get there, though. So this match is really going to test their mettle. And I don't know. I'm giving it as like literally the slimmest of odds in favour of XGod and Ashton, but I'm talking like a 5% edge.
So, when it comes to edging, Lord knows we're all very good at it. And I want to make it very clear that I have seen these gentlemen grow, Pocky and Fake One, and they have the Polsko Garam working for them.
Yeah.
However, I continue to cast or curse them, and I need to stop. So therefore, with all due respect, they're going to lose 0-2.
I like what you're doing there. You're the reverse cast a curse, really kind of cheering for your Polish mates there. I love to see it. Look, all I'm going to say is I don't care which team wins. I just want to see all three games played. Yeah, because we've had 2-0s in every game, not just the ones we've had on stream, but also the ones that have happened on the other side of the other side of our bracket, the games that we haven't had on the cast. And I just want to see a 3-game series played. So can these two teams do it? My mind is telling me yes, but my body is also telling me yes. So let's go. 3 games.
3 games. I wouldn't mind knowing exactly what happened to Ashton Butcher here. Maybe he wasn't feeling the game. I mean, it's good that XGod's ready to go, but again, their mate is not here. They're not. Their body seems to be telling them no.
Perhaps. Yeah, we still have a little bit of padding left to do, it seems, while Ashton decides to get himself into the lobby. Meanwhile, that gives me a chance to update the scoreboard. So, you know, there's a silver lining.
There is a silver lining as you do the very important behind-the-scenes work. It would be really great if we could figure out a way to, maybe automate it a little bit. Maybe just have a little button to click or something. Yeah, but good. We're working. Let's go.
The perfect amount of padding indeed, Seto. So, guys, the moment you've been waiting for is finally here. It is game number 1. It is the last chance match. The winner of this match makes it through to tomorrow's semis. The loser goes home with nothing. Who will be victorious? Let's find out. Game number 1.
Game number 1, we have a lock-in random from Ashton Butcher already opening with the Wildshroom. So he's ready to go. Like, we're not getting that same synergy that we had in the last series where they were able to sync their masterminds within the same second. However, Ashton firing right out the gate saying, I am going to drop this Wild Shroom down and get lots of value out of it, surely. They never get snailed, right?
Yeah, and he's got a really good kind of early game focused role, I've got to say, there on Ashton. Like, his role definitely threatens to fall off if this game goes long, but we know Ashton and his ability to snowball the early game, and I think this kind of early game focused set of units that he's picked up here can certainly allow him to do that here.
Absolutely. I really love his role for the early game here. He's got the Wild Shroom, he's got the synchronous chieftain pilgrim to go with it. He's got a warg circle that might work with it. He's got the new pulse bot. I'm a big fan of the unit. I think it needs a little bit of love, just a touch of love, and then I think it's going to be in a very good place.
Very, very good. Meanwhile, we've got Fake One. He's going for the double skeleton opener, so not going to be the fastest start from him. And Pakistan with the Whirlybird, X-God with the Whirlybird. So we got some pretty fast openers from 3 of our 4 players here. Fake One a little bit slower, but a little bit more steady as well.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward opener, especially if you do accidentally leak or have a castle open where you're starting at 0 income, because it's very easy to forget how much you might need on 3 to upgrade to the big skelly. I'm not speaking from experience, surely.
Surely. We do have the snail resends coming out from X-God, Ashton, and Pakistan. Ashton's adding a Fire Archer here, so he's going to be more than fine, but more to the point, I think this... Oh wait, no, the send is coming out from Fake One. I misread that, so the send is going into X-God's lane, and X-God did add a split, so he should be fine. The one player not receiving a send is Ashton, and I do think he would have taken off if he got one, but he didn't, so let's move on. Meanwhile, Pakistan and Fake One, they both receive snails of their own, and it looks like Fake One will be leaking. So's X-God, though. I actually expected him to hold there, but I guess the Polywog not enough.
The Polywog's not enough. I would have loved to have seen the double snail test from any of our players. If Ashton Butcher gets saved till 4, it could be a little sus if they don't have enough for the Pilgrim or, some other coverage, but saving is very risky in this meta. Oh, he will be getting a Brute, though.
Oh, yeah, okay, this is spicy. So Pakistan going for the first real send of the series, and it is about a Brute. He's going to have another 20 Mythium, so a snail to join the party. Ashton, though, I think is really strong here. Fire Archer is such a good unit in the early game. A lot of it's going to come down to whether this one tanks or not, and then how quickly the Wild Shroom gets run down by the Brute.
I want to see a very nice split here. You are absolutely correct, as in the
Okay.
archers do well on this wave. However, is this one going to die from tanking half the wave?
I think the split here is pretty much picture perfect from Ashton, actually. So the Fire Archer's really doing their job here. He's going to leak, but it's only 2 creeps and the Brute, and that's from an 80 send. Meanwhile, Pakistan, he leaks substantially more against 3 snails. So I think this really only goes one way, and that's in favour of X-Crash.
True. Yeah, the Brute, I mean, even if it does get to punch the king one time, wouldn't have been enough here to give them any kind of real advantage. So Pocky setting himself a little bit back as the beginning of his role could be might be rough in the beginning of the game here. We are already full boosting an Orchid. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, that's 3 gold he's never going to see again. But there is a resend coming out here from X-God, who is maybe going to add the snail.
I just don't like the boost because now his cannon dies, I think. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, he needs to hold now that he's spent the 3 gold, and I don't know if he will because the Whirlybird, exactly like you said, Seto, ended up fully tanking because of the boost. So he actually paid gold to make his build worse.
Yep, I mean, if he was able to get off that Giga Smurf Whirlybird, then he would have been feeling very fine here. Now he's just feeling sad.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Sad, perhaps dejected, but all is not lost just yet. Fake One easily able to cover for his teammate here, and they are at least keeping pace somewhat. However, I do start to worry for Pakistan. He's going for another Brute's End here, and Ashton is dropping that Chieftain, which is probably the best unit in the entire game on Wave 5, right? The question is whether he can make it split tank. If it tanks the boss, Ashton should just do phenomenally well here. If not, you know, if the boss goes straight on this or this, then maybe he can leak, but I think he's just going to be completely fine here.
I don't think it tanks.
It doesn't tank. Oh, but actually the archer is doing more than well enough, it seems. So the archer survives. The one in the split did die pretty quickly, though. Will this be enough? One more heal before the shroom dies? No, too
Bummer.
slow. That was close. The extra 100 or so HP would have been really helpful here. And actually now, yeah, now he's going to leak. Not badly, only the send. And at the same time, right, the fact that Pakistan has gone for power mercenaries twice in a row now on 3 and again on 5, that's his income dropping, you know, not as high as it could have been.
Right. I mean, it looks nice, but it's not as nice as it really looks.
Yes, very well put, my friend.
Thank you.
And meanwhile, XGod does have quite a scary amount of Mythium banked. But having said that, so does Fake One. So both players projecting power, it seems, against their respective opponents. Pakistan not looking fantastic on 7, but does now drop a full Slime Mummy here. Pretty good on Wave 6 and 7. However, XGod is definitely within territory of that Mimic, in which case Pakistan might just end up feeding him even more gold with those little slimes.
I want Taki badly to stop boosting his orchids, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, and the same thing that happened on Wave 4. The Whirlybird just goes down. So it does seem that he's paying gold to make his build worse, which doesn't seem like a good trade-off to me.
You know, and speaking of trade-offs, I think we're not seeing enough stockpiling of these bricks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, cool, we do have 160 coming out from XGod, but, I mean, isn't it the Polish who are just known for that exact feature? Stockpiling?
Stockpiling is certainly one of their greatest strengths, and Fake One was trying his best. Bless him, he's going for the double brute here. He was just like 5 Mythium short of a Mimic of his own, which could have been pretty good, but the double brute can probably just get the job done anyhow against what XGod has on the field. However, it's this Mimic that I'd really want to follow as it makes its way through Pakistan's lane. It will have to chew through an antler before it can make its way over to those delicious slimes.
So it will do... all we're doing is delaying the Mimic getting to those delicious slimes so that it can get to reach its power status. The antler was a good send for the Mimic, but the Mimic only, not the wave itself.
Yeah, and here it is. The slimes are tasty indeed. Nice slimes, nerd. Be a shame if someone chomped them. That's 36 gold on the Toonie Mimic. XGod, sure, he leaks as well, but there's no Mimic there, so there's no bonus 36 gold for free. Meanwhile, the Mimic's got even more gold in the mid, it seems.
Yeah, the longer it gets to go here, another 6 on top. It probably won't. Well, wait, actually, because it is magic.
Oh, it does. 45
Just
gold
barely.
on that Mimic. That is very successful for XGod, I think. There is a full resend, actually, from both members of the worst polls here on Wave 8. That 46 gold probably going to come in handy right now for XGod. And Ashton, meanwhile, he's only got 165 gold himself. What do we think is the best thing he can build here?
I'm sorry, were we talking Ashton?
Ashton, yeah. I guess it has to
Yeah,
be like another
oof.
chieftain. Yeah, there we
It
go.
has to be another chieftain. And you know what? With that, he may even be able to protect this archer as long as our aggro looks pretty good.
That archer
Yep.
looks tasty. In fact, both of our archers tanking 1 creep each. Ah, no,
Oh.
the one in the split tanks a bit too much and does go down. But this one certainly did its job. Now we have the canopy on the wave. Chieftain off tanking, keeping the canopy topped up as well. Do we get one more heal before the canopy goes
course
down?
we
do. That's just a hold, right?
If it weren't for the Mimic getting so much gold last wave, I would have loved the resend from Fake One. However, because of that, I think that was a little bit of a blunder.
Yeah, and both Xgod and Ashton holding here, while Ashton was even saving. And oh no, Pakistan! It's only a Pro League, a low HP cannon, but it makes the wave so long while Ashton's saving on his teammate and the Fake One. In some real trouble here on wave 9, I think. Does pull down a full
Absolutely,
Harbinger,
like
though,
he's
out
got the
of
gate
nowhere.
guard.
Yeah, that's a very strong unit on wave 9. However, it does suffer, as all summoning units do. Seto, they're very susceptible to being overwhelmed. And the size of send coming out here from Ashton on wave 9, I worry that the Harbinger might just not have enough time to get out enough value.
Well, we do have the boosted veteran. We know at least that it'll do full damage on the reduced range damage wave, so we have that going for us.
Absolutely broken. This Brute getting insta-sniped, that's nice as well. And really good off-tanking there with the Chieftain. But yeah, look, that's exactly what I was worried about. The Harbinger dies before getting out the second summon. And as a result, that's 102% leak there for the Fake One. This is devastating. Ashton's going to get so much gold from this.
Yeah, also, unfortunately, the Slime Mommy will not tank before the Antler. Therefore, some of the DPS will be focused most likely before the Slimes pop back up. Yep, and that means the Fire Elemental, which could have been really good damage on the wave, is now going to just get insta-sniped as well.
Yeah, and this is going to be our first blood, actually. The fact that it's here on wave 9 is kind of interesting, given that we have had some decent back and forth between the teams, but the worst polls, they are dropping down to around 80% on the King, and more importantly, just 16% on the old Julesometer there at the top of the screen.
Yeah, we went back and forth, and then eventually someone just put something on the scale that made it weigh way too much, and we have a full Dread Knight on 10 here, which is great because otherwise Xgod had no really good units for this wave.
Yeah, he's just making so much gold from these leaks of his opponents, and of course that Mimic on 7. Holy moly.
So we just get the Income King here, which is probably not the best move from Paki and Fake when they kind of need to start doing something to get control of the game back.
They need to make something happen, right? And I'm starting to worry for them because look at this. Xgod just miles ahead on the power score. He has about 30 income more than both members of the polls. And yeah, Xgod just going to pull further and further ahead as this game progresses.
Going to pull further and further ahead. He's an insane person for the next couple waves. And we picked Battle Scars from Paki and Fake One, which is a good spell, especially if we can get it on something that's now a good unit like this Avenger. However, unfortunately, because it's all the way in the back, that means he's probably got a leak in order for it to gain those stacks.
Right, yeah. Xgod and Ashton, they do have quite a decent chunk of Mythium, and they also have a very healthy worker lead right now. So I wonder if they want to try and make something happen on 12, where Pakistan in particular does not look too clever. Fake One, I mean, now that he has the Shadow Dancer, sure, that's a very good unit on 12, but the rest of his build kind of underwhelming there, so I could see these guys being in trouble next.
They are probably in a little bit of trouble because we have good units for 13, but we don't have any wave 12 killers aside from possibly the Shadow Dancer. Once again, we are going to see the Income King, but also, once again, we are going to see a devastating send out of Xgod and Ashton Butcher.
Yeah, and we do have the one aggressive spell there picked up by Ashton. It is the Giant Snails. Kind of interesting. Well, I suppose the snail's really not that good against Pakistan's build, right? Like, this thing just eats them for breakfast. And yeah, we even have Hardened Golem here for Fake One. I think he might do very well. The Battle Scars there landing on the Alpha Male. Again, very good unit for Wave 12. He's still decently undervalued there, about 280 under. But his build is now looking really quite good here.
So once again, we are seeing the boost out of the Orchids for Paki. Let's see how that kind of works out for him. I'm going to pay attention to God, I don't know. His lane, just I don't know in what unit in particular. He does have the Sovereign, which is really cool, but again, that's a little bit of a yikers.
The Sovereign's
Nice
doing
cleanup,
very
though. I guess
well,
it's alright,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Meanwhile, we still have the Shadow Dancer alive, but that will eventually go down there in Fake One's lane. But Pakistan RQS with the Sovereign and mainly Swift units, it has to be said, just holding this 400 send on wave 12. Well, if you are a Worst Poles fan, things just took a turn for the better, it has to be said. These guys who were in such a rough spot coming into this mid-game, now there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Not just Swift, but also Impact too. So that was really, really impressive there from Pocky. I take back everything bad that I said. I still don't think they're going to win, but I still take back everything that I said.
Yeah, they still have a mountain to climb. Both XGod and Ashton are on 75 gold shutdowns. They're really, really ahead, economically speaking. They've got the income lead by miles. They've got the value lead by miles. And Pakistan and Fake One are trying to make something happen. They're both pushing that worker button, but I mean, they're basically just on par with XGod and Ashton.
However, Ashton put down the egg this wave. If they can find an angle into that 14, they might be very happy here. We have 2 gates from XGod. We know that gates aren't that great on 14. We also have the Dread Knight, which is a fine unit, but is it the best unit for 14? I don't think the answer to that question is yes. They might be able to find an angle here, and I'm very excited to see it.
Well, here comes the send, but XGod and Ashton, they are not going to be caught unawares, at least, so they are going for a send of their own. Now, Ashton is making the wave very, very long, does not lose his egg, though. Interesting whether he decides to sell it.
He has to be sniffing a little bit of a send here. Maybe he's okay with leaking a bit or letting the egg die, but oh, interestingly, we have 4, count them, 4 canopies and 1 desert pilgrim. So obviously we're going to be getting giga value out of their missing HP pool. And the Lioness does, while it is natural, it is going to be swiping pretty nicely as well.
Yeah. But here's the thing, Seto, because XGod and Ashton are not just taking this lying down, they're going for a full send of their very own, and Pakistan and Fake One, who were desperately trying to make something happen, pushing those worker buttons, as a result their values are looking quite scary.
They're looking quite scary, and unfortunately Pocky getting the pretty much worst unit into him on 14. So after only 2 waves, he's getting a Pack and Needler into his Sovereign. So that's going to hurt a little bit, but you do still see him cleaning up very respectably.
Yeah, that Sov unit, man. When they told me it was strong, I didn't realise quite how strong. However, Fake One and Pakistan, that's a combined 200% leak, and they're calling GG. Yeah, I don't think their king can survive this.
No Kingsguard for Pocky or Fake One, and despite the fact they have plenty of King Ups, most of them are regen from the early game.
Wait, was that
they're
premature?
fine. Not only is it not even close, it's actually not even close. Holy mackerel.
Wow, okay.
That's BM. Holy.
Solid hold there from the Worst Poles, managing to stay in the game. However, those shutdowns only increasing on the side of X-Crash. X got up to 150 gold bounty now. That's just how far ahead he is in this game. And now, XGod and Ashton deciding it's time to close out the game. They've pressed that worker button. They're on 50 plus workers each, while also being by far the highest value compared to their opponents. Pakistan and Fake One desperately trying to hang on, but they're praying for a miracle, I think.
I don't know what god they believe in, but hopefully he's listening and willing to deliver, because they are in a little bit of a pickle here. If I were them, I'd probably be even just kind of preparing what my plan is for the next game. You know, like, okay, maybe redraw greed wasn't it. Maybe we need something a little more aggressive, or maybe we need something safer. Perhaps if we did have Kingsguard this game, we could have pushed harder when we were feeling a little bit risky.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that you need to plan around, I guess, how you can turn the tides in the upcoming game, because this one's probably not going their way. Now, this is maybe a bit of a Hail Mary going for this wave 16, and it has to be said, Ashton not looking phenomenal here. Canopy's obviously garbage unit on wave 16, and he even has an egg on the board as well.
Yep, another naked egg. possibly going to lose it here. He does have an okay unit in the Lost Chieftain, but generally speaking, they're not looking that good here. If I were to have gone for this play, if as Pocky and Fake one, knowing that I'm actually kind of good this wave, at least as far as Pocky goes, I probably would have full pushed the button after as 15 started.
Yeah. Well, look, they need to make something happen here because they are so far behind. And more to the point, God and Ashton didn't spend any of their Mythium here. So anything short of a devastating blow against X-Crash now on wave 16, and that's just all she wrote for the worst polls. It does look like Ashton's going for a bit of a leak over here, so they're going to get that shut down at least. Meanwhile, X-God, how's he doing? He's got a lot of these little night crawlers just chewing away at the wave. That looks like a hold from X-God, and unfortunately, Ashton leaking alone. It's still 150 gold shot down, Seto, but it's just too little, too late, and I think the worst polls are in a pretty much impossible situation right now.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I love the send call here. I may have saved for an ink on 18, but then again, I don't know what the actual right call to navigate this game is at this point.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
we are getting a decent chunk of gold. That's 10% king.
They do get quite a lot of gold from that. They are going for a resend here. And again, the canopy's still pretty bad on 17 as well, right?
Yeah, just don't let Jules tell you the story because then, he might be a little biased.
Now, X-God, I mean, he's very strong here, actually. Triple Hellgate, Dread Knight, Lioness. He's just got some real hand-picked units for Wave 17, and I don't think a few imps are going to change that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Seto, is this the first time we've seen a 99% win probability from Jules?
Yeah, that was the bias I was trying not so hard to pay attention to because it is not looking good if you are listening to the devs. Thank goodness nobody listens to the devs, right?
Yeah, just as few people as listen to the casters, and rightly so. But look at this, X-God easily cleaning up. It's not even close. He's got about 1 billion value left alive. Ashton, I guess, is going to leak small, so he will be feeding a 225 gold shutdown. But Pakistan and Fake One, they are just desperate right now. I don't know, man. This feels just completely doomed for those guys.
Well, yeah, no, I was going to try and play devil's advocate, but I mean, 99% speaks for itself. At this point, X-God, Ashton Butcher, thankfully, they're not going to play with their food. They did actually push after that last send on 17, whereas on 16, they pushed a little. They really didn't push a lot, but kind of securing it there for themselves. We do have really good units in the Orchids and the Sobs for
Do you know
Pocky,
what's
but
good against Orchids? 3
What's that?
Krakens. 3
Oh, yeah, I guess
Krakens.
that's pretty
and,
good.
And about 600 Mythium in the backline to back them up. These sends are just absolutely enormous. And like you say, Pakistan's got good units here, don't get me wrong. So has Fake One, actually. But the value, man, 2,500 under for Pakistan. 3,000 under there for the Fake One. And look, they're trying their absolute hardest. They're going to kill a couple of wave creeps. But it's just not even close in the face of these enormous 2,500 Mythium sends.
Yeah, I think it's. I think this one is GG. I don't even think that Pocky is going to kill another creep. No, look at that Needler. It's on. I
don't even think
only
Kingsguard would keep them in the game here when we've got,
No.
what is this, a combined 450% leak, kind of close to 500% leak. I think the worst polls have, they can bow out of this one, you know?
Well, I mean, the good news is they gave themselves plenty of time to talk about what they're going to do next game, presuming that's what they did.
I mean, for their sake, I hope so, because what they don't need to do is dwell too much on that game, because they just got their ass handed to them by X-Crash. That was quite a one-sided game, I feel like, especially as they turned it into the mid-game. X-God and Ashton just so far ahead. I can't remember the last time. I've been casting Nova Cup. This is like year 4 now, and I don't remember the last time I saw a 99% win probability. So that kind of tells it all about how one-sided this was in favour of X-Crash. And I really hope, for the sake of the worst polls, they can gather it up mentally. You know, that game, it was rough. You kind of got spanked, but the next game is fresh. You know, move on. Take every game as it comes, and for their sake, for our sake, for the viewers' sake, I hope they can bring things back in game 2, tie the series, and we really want that game 3, guys.
And that's pretty much it. While these guys aren't as veteran as some of the other people that I was talking about wouldn't get tilted after that kind of loss, who knows what could happen here? We do have a former celebrity in the fake one, so surely they're used to the pressure. Surely it's not going to get to them that much. And Pocky being just a generally chill dude, I don't think it's going to weigh too much on him. So, we're fine. It's fine. We're going to get our game 3 today. It's happening.
Right? Right.
Right. Surely.
Deal. Okay. Oh, well, hopefully you passed on the copy of the script this time around, because last time the players were not playing ball. Take a fall in the 3rd round, they were not listening. However,
you wanted me to do that this time? I thought since I messed it up, you were going to do it.
Damn it. Not again, Seto.
Not again, no.
Alright, it looks like our players are ready and game number 2 is underway. In fact, that was such a rapid fire start that I haven't even updated the scoreboard. Do you happen to remember the Masterminds pick there by XCOD and Ashton?
I don't.
Okay, then it's just going to go 1-0. We'll leave the conquest mode off the charts for now. 1-0 will have to suffice. You can blame the rookie casters for that one, guys. 4 years experience, what?
So the good news is we know it wasn't Kingsguard. And I mean, they're good sports, and surely they know the rules. Oh wait, you know what? I do have it. It was cash out lock-in. Fuck
Oh,
yeah!
cash out lock-in. Wow. Okay. In which case, I will update the scoreboard. That'll kick in for the next wave. All right. Meanwhile, guys, we have game number 2 underway, and this time we have a Fiesta pickup by Ashton Butcher, no less, and he has that consort in his role, so pretty good Fiesta start. Has to be said though, Pakistan with his cartel, that generally fares quite well into Fiesta, and at the same time he has a really nice looking role there with the Nightmare Butcher, with quite an early game focused role. He should be able to more than keep pace with a Fiesta player, I think.
That's actually a crazy good role for a cartel player. XCOD thankfully decided to go against the Windhawk double seedling for their open with the Fiesta from their mate. Regardless, okay, so they're going for the Skelly Fiesta. I'm actually a big fan of this.
Okay.
And there is a way to make this leak.
Yeah, that should leak, right? With the off-centered thing, so the left one tanks a bit too much, dies a bit too fast.
Yep.
Okay, and it's also maybe a bit less of an obvious Fiesta when you're playing Skellies instead of like a consort, a bit more obvious perhaps.
Yeah, no, we just misclicked by accident, ran out of time.
Yeah.
So, yep.
Quite clean as well, so just the 4 creep leak there, 33%. Decent Fiesta there from Ashton. Will be able to push his 5th worker and still do quite well on wave 2.
Doing well on wave 2 here. XGod is sitting still at 4 workers because, 45 gold is 45 gold, and you can't turn that into 0.9 workers, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
Devs?
Yeah, no can do, I'm afraid. Drakir with his dev hacks has already made it through to the semi-finals. Now, Ashton is snailing Fake One, who's not adding a tier 1, so that will be a bit of a leak from him. No snail coming out from Pakistan, though. Oh, wait, it is. Very, very last second there. So that should be a small leak from Ashton as well, who will be quite happy to accept it as a Fiesta player.
Absolutely. And, even as this Skelly Open is, it's going to do what it does. Do we still upgrade it on 3 here? Because, we do have the Wild Shroom, and that wouldn't be such a bad backup for 5 when the Skelly might have a little bit of problem killing the loss.
I think you kind of have to, and the reason why is the skeleton is just so bad stat wise.
Fair.
Like you're gonna get a Fiesta, but it's gonna be like a 70-80% job, especially if Pakistan manages to get out a 60 cent. But like this, you accept the hold, you push up to 7 workers or 8 workers even, and then you probably get another Fiesta on 5 instead.
Yep, exactly that. We do have Pocky, instead of going with the veterans, deciding that he would rather see the Ellie do a little bit of the damage and tanking here. I think that's perfectly fine, because, with the 60 cent going into him, the Nightmare could have leaked a little bit.
And the Aqua actually pairs super well with Nightmares, right? Because it allows it to 2-shot the wave instead of 3.
Exactly.
So yeah,
And he'll
nice
always
hold
pick the
there
low
from
unit.
Pakistan. Gotta say, the game is definitely off to a better start now for the worst polls compared to game number 1. And actually, we have the worker lead. Oh no, okay, Ashton keeps things steady. He does go up to that 8th worker now with his, what do you call it? Spectral Scallywag.
Yeah, the Scallywag here, it's going to hold 4 all day anyway, and if he doesn't get sent here, okay, well, I mean, I guess I'll put down the tree early,
Mm-hmm.
So he's fine. He's going to kill the king next. That's all we ever worry about.
Yeah. And he's even getting a free lizard here. Like, the Scallywag is just so invincible on 4 that that's just free gold for him, and of course less pressure. But Pakistan just wanting to make sure he can keep his own income in a healthy spot, which he certainly has achieved.
Absolutely. We do have 100 gold from X-God. The Fire Elemental is an okay damage, or it's a really good damage unit on 5, kind of shockingly, and even a decent tank if you're able to, get it to tank right.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering what they were going to put down. It is going to be the Butcher. That's what I was trying to kind of figure out while I was talking through their role.
That's a very low value Butcher, but I suppose he doesn't
I kind of think
really have
so.
any better options. Well, wait, no, he's redraw. He's got plenty of options. He just has to press the button. But I guess he spotted the Butcher and Sovereign combination, and he just doesn't want to pass it up. So he's kind of playing greedy, I would say, because this is like objectively bad right now.
It's objectively bad right now. However, he is getting the send here. Like, I feel like the Bone Warrior into, whatever the big boy is kind of a better call here in the split, as it would have been able to Giga Tank forever. But he's kind of bailed out by this 80, 100 send into him with the king up there.
Yeah, he's on quite healthy value, though. I think he would have done quite well even against, say, a Hermit. Meanwhile, Ashton, very low value there with his Fiesta play. Is he going to get a perfect leak? Or no? I guess he's just about to hold this. Pakistan maybe correctly reading the Fiesta there, just going for Income King instead of trying to leak his opponent, and thus shutting down that Fiesta gold for Ashton.
Yep, shutting down the Fiesta Gold for Ashton, and they boosted the Orchid last wave, so it's kind of a double loss there. They didn't get the bonus gold from leaking.
All right, now we see the Nightmare Butcher combo is online here for Pakistan, and he's in quite a comfortable position, I think. He's got the highest income in the game, he's got comfortable workers there on 10, he's getting a full send here, but I think he's going to do quite well.
Yep, surely going to do just fine. The Nightmare, the Butcher,
This is just
no
perfect for him as well. I know it's not much DPS on 6, but the fact that it survives on 1 HP is just perfect for him. Has to be said, Pakistan, the gameplay coming out of this guy in game number 2, if I was worried at all about these guys crumbling under pressure, they have absolutely resolved those fears, because the way they're playing this game too, absolutely spot on, I think.
Yep, more workers than their opponents, and one of them is Fiesta, so that's always a good sign. As well as the fact that Ashton, yet again, boosted this wave. So, little teeny minuscule amounts of winning leads to bigger amounts of winning later on down the road.
As Charlie Sheen once said. Now, we do get another round of income coming out from all 4 players, so everybody just racing to keep their economy as high as possible. Although at the moment it looks like that's just going in favour of the worse polls. And look at this, Seto, how the tides have changed. If you look at that win probability up top, Jules giving the polls 63% chance to win this one.
Yeah, they're slowly working their way up the ladder there. Just a few more to go, and honestly, XGod's roll right now with the 2 extra aquas, that's 100 gold that could have been spent any way other than the way it is being spent right now. So could be a little bit of an interesting 9, depending on what we decide to do with that butcher, or if we do end up getting something going with the Sov.
Yeah, surely the Sov drop, right? I think that's the whole reason he hasn't re-rolled yet with his redraw. He's just waiting to get that Sovereign online with the Butcher. There is actually a full send now coming out from Fake One into XGod. Maybe going to catch him greeding here. XGod is very strong this wave, but look, he's read him like a book. Fake One there, what a great call. XGod is 215 undervalue, and yes, Aqua's very strong on wave 8, but the Hermit countering them quite nicely. And this just dead value here.
Dead value here. If we're actually able to get out the some kind of ranged unit, we'll get the 1 snail difference. Oh, darn. Because that would have been an even leak, and we would have sent the Butcher and the Warg off to the right.
Yeah, the Hermit really doing its thing though, just keeping the wave as topped up as possible. Quite a nice damage split between the two, but the Rogue wave getting overwhelmed, and now everything onto the last Aqua of XGod. He's able to kill 1 more, but still, that's a 68% leak, not quite the magic number. Ashton is holding and will be able to cover most, if not all of this. Yeah, it's a nice long ways. Now, we do have quite a decent chunk of Mythium there, 200 on Pakistan. XGod and Ashton both north of 100 themselves, and here comes the full send from Pakistan. We've got Pack Leader, we've got Brute. Ashton, what is your answer? Well, he's got this Treant, and Tree of Knowledge, pretty darn good unit.
Pretty good unit. I love the resend. XGod was unable to push with their workers last game or last wave because they knew they needed the Sov this wave. So, you know, really good read here out of the Fake One, just kind of putting the pressure on. And we know that Aquas are kind of negative damage on wave 9 for XGod here. So, really needing magic to happen with that boy. And it looks like he's trying to get him to split a little bit here.
Yeah.
I love this call.
XGod, I think, should be holding, but with 300 Mythium wandering into his lane, Ashton, I'm a little bit more worried about. The fully boosted Orchid, a ton of upfront damage, does kill a few creeps very, very quickly, and crucially, it isolates that Pack Leader, so he's able to kill the thing super, super quick. He's still going to leak, of course, but doing way better than I expected against such a massive send here. Ashton just 54%, and XGod, yeah, crucially, he's holding against the resend here on wave 9. Meanwhile, Fake One actually leaking 50% to a triple Bruter of his own.
So XGod pushed workers on 7 and has not been able to push despite being sent 8, 9, and now possibly even 10. Is still sitting on 15 workers. So they have not pushed workers in 3 sends now.
Yeah, and look at the income numbers here. Seto, we've got Pakistan, RQS, what a turn of events. This was the guy who was lowest power score, I think, throughout the previous game. He's now not only on top, he's on fire here, shut down 25 gold wave 10. He's on a massive amount of income compared to the other players in the game. And guess who? Fake One, he's in second place. So things looking up indeed for the worst polls. If you want to see this series go to a best of 3, well, this is how we start that journey.
Absolutely, and I think I hate to continue to harp on it, but my God, how do you keep someone down while sending them? Like normally starve is the way to keep someone from pushing workers, but how about you just punish them by sending them? That's a new, unique tactic, and I love the way that it has worked out so far. Paki here, unfortunately, wasn't able to get the Doppel because, you know, they kept getting sent. They didn't have any pressure, so, okay, I guess I'll live with 2 Nightmares, but generally speaking, he is looking very strong because at any point, he can turn them into big Baraboyos with 2 heads.
Yep, There we go. The doppelganger is out, only receiving income sends from the side of X-Crash, so the polls should be more than fine here. However, there is a full resend coming out from the polls, maybe hoping to catch X-Crash unawares, and looking at their values, they may have succeeded.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact that XCOD has not been able to push for so long, and then yet again, he's not exactly the best here. He's got a Sov on wave 11. I would have rather actually seen the Antler there for better tankage, but the Sov might get stopped up by the Brute here. It won't on first look. It will. But once it starts absorbing that damage, it may not be doing so hot.
Oh, this is the second
That's
time we've
actual
seen like
magic,
an
okay.
absolutely insane ranged unit split. So X-God easily holding his overvalue, of course. Ashton Butcher, though, he was caught with his trousers down. That's an 83% leak there for the Butcher. And meanwhile, yes, both members of the worst polls, they are holding the income sends. And they're going to farm a juicy bit of Burt. So 85 gold at the start of this for Pakistan. And that is skyrocketing all the way up to 174. So nearly 100 gold there gained from that resend by Pakistan. He's pretty happy with the way that one panned out.
Interestingly, Ashton Butcher here pushing really, really hard this wave. I think they're going to try for something juicy.
That
Yeah.
could be dangerous if they do want to go for a wave 13 send. But at the same time, X-God playing things very safe. He's 200 over. He's quite low on the work account, so I think Pakistan should be more than fine. However, Seto, I hate to break it to you, but the worst poll, 69% on the Jawsometer. Has the curse struck again?
No. See, we've been 100% when we've hit 69 today. Maybe Skav is the one who just doesn't know how to handle this kind of pressure here, because I think that what we're looking at is a hell of a turnaround. This is our gateway into Game 3. This is how you keep playing the game. You just bring it to a 69.
Okay, they're 67. They're safe. Meanwhile, X-God and Ashton, they did save their Mythium here, so the egg will go unpunished. Fake One, he's going to be in a really strong position, I think, when that bad boy hatches. Meanwhile, Pakistan, he's got the second doppelganger out. He's so strong on wave 14. And Ashton, meanwhile, his value is looking really, really scary. So if the polls go for a wave 14 send, things could get very dangerous for the side of X-Crash.
I want to point out, because I don't think we mentioned it, we took double Dark Writ on the side of X-God and Ashton Butcher, which did allow Ashton Butcher to push a few more of those workers, which is, you know, they did basically Sui. But these snails here, I don't love... Now, and there's no way he could have possibly known that X-God would have been redraw, but I don't love snails into redraw, because you pick any other unit that's not susceptible to snails, and suddenly you're feeling happy. Let's find a Hades.
Yep, absolutely. Hey, wait a minute. The polls? Did they see that Ashton was 550 value under on 13?
Surely they did, but they must have been thinking to themselves, oh, it's just for show, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan very strong here with the double doppel. The doppel, if you will. But Fake One, he's really not great on this wave. You know, Chieftain, very, very weak here. Hydra, very, very weak here. Sure, he's got 2 badges, but he just has no damage. Fake One with 3.1k value, he's leaking here for sure. Oh, we did get the Harden, though. Okay,
sure.
So Pakistan with a great read here. Does harden his Mudmen, and that should give his Doppels more than enough time to ramp up their damage and clean up the wave. But yeah, let's keep eyes on Fake One, because I do expect this guy to be leaking while on 3.1k.
He's on 3.1k, but I mean, look at it. He's going to leak only the Needler.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Actually could be worse, right? Meanwhile, though, Pakistan fully holding the 540 Mythium send. Fake One does leak, but like you say, Seto, it's a creep and a Needler. And they're going to deal very, very minimal king damage here. And here comes the counterattack.
With that Harden, we were able to absolutely just go giga crazy. We also boosted one veteran, which did one of my favorite things in this game, which is the J split, where we just take the units and we bring them down and we bring them further away from our damage. We bring them into these Ellies, which are decent tanks on 14, and give our DPS more time to ramp. So really well played there from Pocky.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's see. Will X-Crash have any chance of remaining in this game? And we were talking about one-sided games, but look at this, 91% for the polls. How the tides have turned for this team. After the struggle of game number 1, game number 2 is entirely in their court.
Indeed, X-God still sitting on a very unfortunate 20 workers by 15. They just got punished so beautifully in the early game. You've very rarely been able to see Fire Ellies be stopped in such a way. Like, he pushed when he thought he was strong and then leaked because of it.
Yeah, and that's 167% leak there for Ashton Butcher. X-God, it seems, probably doing a little bit better, but still, that's 114%, a little bit relative here. And X-Crash, they will be dying here on wave 15. The worst polls have not only managed to draw the series, they've done it in style.
They have absolutely impressed me. I didn't think much of these guys going into this series, but my goodness, if they didn't give us the game 3 we wanted this whole time, it is now their time to shine. So, obviously, I still think it's going to be a bit of a rough game for them next game, but, who knows? Anything could happen.
So I just love the additions. I don't know when you found the time to get the hat and shades in between games, but I'm just absolutely impressed. I'm floored. Well played, sir.
Just a natural progression of the day. I don't know what more you could possibly ask for.
Well, to be honest, I'm just thankful that the kind of way things were trending. Every time we got you back on cam, you were wearing less clothes. So I'm just happy that you're wearing more now, because there wasn't much more to come off, I don't think.
I don't know what you mean. What could you possibly be talking about?
Absolutely incredible, Seto. Absolutely incredible. Okay, guys, this will be the last game of the stream today, just as well, because Seto truly doesn't have any more clothes that he can take off, I'm afraid.
You're hoping.
But, guys, we will get to see our first best of 3 of the day, and what a series to do it in. This is the last chance match. This is the last chance for one of our teams to make it through to tomorrow's semi-final. The loser of this next game will be out of the tournament. The winner will secure their place in tomorrow's semi-final. So it really is everything to play for now as we go into the final game, not just of the series, but of the whole day. And Seto, this has been a really fun day of games so far. Okay, I have heard that Fake One needs a couple of minutes in between the games, so that will give us a bit more time to chat. Which way do you think this is going to go, Seto? I'm sure if we asked anybody in the Twitch chat after game 1, they would have told us that X-God and Ashton are taking this series hands down, no problem. But at the same time, the worst polls just gave X-Crash exactly the same treatment, a taste of their own medicine there in game number 2, with an extremely one-sided beatdown from the polls. So, with that said, both teams capable of handing out punishment. Which way is it going to go as we see game number 3?
So thankfully here we have a very exciting series. We see that when both teams are on, their highs are high. And as a result, because when their highs are high, their opponents look like their lows are low. But with all of that being said, and with my original prediction, and with only the greatest love in the world that I have for Fake One and Pocky, I'm going to go X-God and Ashton Butcher.
Okay, all right. Do you know, I think I'm actually going to change my mind, because before the series I called it for Ashton and X-God, but I'm so impressed with the way that the polls pulled that one back, because I do think the kind of the mental edge, the morale has a big impact when it comes to these high-level Legion games, because you have to be thinking on your feet the whole time, right? That's what people don't really get. Like, there's a lot of very quick decisions to be made in a game of Legion, especially at this caliber. And the fact that they could recover after that game number one, which was bad, guys. It was bad, but they didn't just recover; they dominated in game two, and I think that fortitude says a lot for this team. I'm impressed, and I'm going to call it in favor of the Poles.
I like where your head's at. However, I am more consistently wrong than you, so I'm going to allow you to have it without any contest.
Lovely jubbly. Okay, it looks like the Poles are ready. I think XGod might have taken time to have a quick break of himself, so we might still have a couple of minutes yet to wait, guys. Let me just get that one sent out. Okay, so we're just, I think, waiting for XGod to come back, but we should be able to get the last game underway as soon as possible. And look, it's just been such a fun day of games so far. I'm happy we get to see a third game played out here when it really counts in the last chance match. And look, it's been fun.
It has been so much fun, and anyone who thinks that, Nova can possibly flop, well, I guess they're just the biggest silly goose that could be around.
I mean, what was the call? We saw how many of the games were going to be ending on wave 6 or 7 after a save.
Listen, I mean, I know we're in turmoil, but when you know how to play the game, you know how to play the game.
Absolutely, and these guys, they know how to play the game. I think they might even know how to use the passive of the Sunfang. But guys, we are finally ready. Game number 3 is here. This one's for all the marbles. Who's going to take it home? Will it be X-Crash? Will it be the worst Poles? Let's find out. Game number 3.
So Ashton here pulling out the incredibly strong redraw and even having kind of a really strong, if this were a YOLO roll, I wouldn't be that mad about it.
Yeah, that's a decent roll. Ashton, an absolute menace with the Honeyflower, by the way. He played this unit back when nobody else wanted to because he just knows how to abuse the early game power spike that it gives you. You know, it's probably the best unit in the game for the first 3 waves, and he knows how to use that power spike extremely well, I think. Meanwhile, we've got Chaos coming out from Pakistan, and we've got a lock-in random from XGod, who also has a pretty decent role, I think it has to be said, although maybe a bit lacking in melee units.
Lacking a little bit in melee units right now. We will have, and look, I make the mistake all the time of picking too many tanks. Who needs tanks when you just kill the wave?
Yeah, true, and he does have a lot of damage. Now we have a Kingsguard coming out from the Fake One. Okay, so with everything to play for, he's just thinking, you know what? I want my king to be strong, and I can respect that.
Absolutely. Kingsguard can be that kind of savior. Like, if you're feeling a little bit sus or, you want that mid-game power spike where you want to just be able to push and you don't care what happens, Kingsguard is incredibly strong for that thing. It does have weaknesses, obviously, as all these masterminds do, the 3 income being one of those kind of awkward ones where it can throw you off 1 or 2 of your wave 2 power spikes, but generally speaking, very strong.
Mm-hmm. All right, now we do have XGod going all the way up to 6 workers, so really making the most of his Whirlybird opener, an absolute powerhouse unit for the first couple of waves in its own right. And Ashton, of course, with the Seedling as well to go with the flower. That's so strong for the first couple of waves.
It's so strong for the first couple of waves. He's not getting any pressure into him with this king up. So thankfully he'll be able to continue to kind of abuse the power that it gives him. He doesn't really have any units to help cover his flower super duper early here, but we don't care about that because we're redraw. Anything we want, we can get at any time.
Yep. Okay, now, do we have any spice? Yes, actually, the Poles are applying pressure in the early game. They are skipping a wave. Crazy.
So this is actually, and without any kind of joke, the complete sincerity, one of the first times we've seen a skip on wave 3, and let alone from 2 players. So I'm pleased to see that we're going to be changing things up just a little bit. I hope that we make the right call, because obviously if you throw off your early game, that can be that so quickly.
Yeah, yeah. But they can also just maintain pressure with income, right? Like they can skip a
Absolutely.
wave and then just go for the income king, and it maybe just keeps your opponents a little bit lower in terms of the old workers than they might otherwise be.
We saw Lucy perform that very same feat earlier today,
Hmm.
and it worked out wonderfully for her. She was able to skip just a wave or two against Mr. Slickens while he was Fiesta and be able to capitalize on that entirely.
Yeah, absolutely, Seto. And meanwhile, okay, there's well, okay, Pakistan at least is saving one more wave. Fake one though, he does go for a send here, and I respect it because these units pretty bad on wave 4. However, what he didn't know was that X-God had Ranger hidden away in his role, and that unit pretty good on wave 4.
Absolutely.
Oh, but
I
wait, I've just noticed Ashton not looking too clever on wave number 5. And Pakistan, he already has enough Mythium for a Hermit. Problem is, these units can at least ensure that he kills that Scorpion, so we're almost certainly not going to get a repeat of X-God leaking the entire wave on wave 5, but Ashton's still definitely in danger territory there, I think. Oh,
really kind of like
especially
this.
if his teammate leaks here, Seto. It's only
Yep.
17%. It's a tiny leak. But the whole point is it makes the wave so long while Ashton's being saved on by Pakistan.
And here it is. Here are the results of all of that waiting. The Hermit, incredibly devastating. It is magic damage,
Hmm.
which, isn't necessarily that significant, but it is what the flower is already doubly weak to.
Yeah. Now, this is really crucial for Ashton because the Treant, so good when you drop it fresh on wave 5. Obviously, it gets the 20% buff that gradually wears off. But yeah, really good tank value when you drop it fresh on wave 5, so it should be able to keep him alive. I mean, he's definitely going to kill a few units. This won't be a repeat of that X-God disaster we saw in the other game, but should still be a decent leak, and actually a perfect split there from Ashton between his flower and his Treant. So yeah, damage limitation at its finest. And in fact, this is not too shabby at all. He's still leaking, of course, but it's 47% there against the 120 send. Meanwhile, Pakistan, he leaks 44 just against a single Fiend, and his teammate also leaking to a Fiend. So the Poles, uh-oh, this is not
Yeah,
the
I'm
way they
kind of
wanted this
unhappy.
game to start.
Yeah, that's a little bit of an oopsie again, and I hate to keep saying that like so early in these games with these two, but it seems like when they mess up early.
And already Jules very, very happy with the way things are going for X-Crash.
Yeah, understandably. Ashton Butcher here is looking a little sus on 7, so if we do find a way to... Nope, never mind, we sent. Okay, never mind, that point's dead. It's moot. We don't care anymore. Alright, so X-God here looking very fine on 6, looking pretty good on 7. I think the only person who is looking a little bit sus on 7 would have been Ashton.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, so with all of that being said, Paki here going to be covering just fine. They have a really nice role here. The only person who has the infinite role in Ashton has only spent one of them so far. None of our other players have even spent their rerolls yet, so everyone's pretty happy with their early game. I think it's kind of surprising that Fake One maybe hasn't rerolled yet, since they are kind of sus here, and 120 value under, and leaking again, so a little bit deeply unfortunate. Not a lot you can do about that, though. So the options for the Fake One here are to kind of stop pushing and actually just play the game. Like just take a minute and stabilize.
Mm-hmm. Maybe something. So I'm going quiet here because I'm just reading up on a couple of messages that I've had, and yeah. So lock-in has actually already been used by X-Crash, and they've picked it again here. So I don't know. Probably should have been picked up earlier, but that's not ideal.
Was it cash out? Was it cash out lock-in?
It was cash out lock-in in game 1, yeah.
Oh shucks.
Yeah, let me see if I can reach Schnurd. So you carry on talking, please, Seto, while I
Yeah, no, let
send
me
a
take
couple of
care of it while
messages.
you take care of that. I got this. So, as I said earlier, Fake One here actually stabilizing a little bit. Like they're still kind of deeply undervalued, but they had really good units for this wave. The Slime Mommies both getting a chance to pop off. You need them to pop off to give that time to the Sky Queen to be able to ramp up. And because Pocky is a little bit worried here, and reasonably so, that he's getting a real send, he's full boosted this Orchid. Early in the series, I hated that, but he eventually redeemed himself. But we need desperately for this mask to kind of smurf, and he could do that if he was able to sell this mask and put it just one block higher, I think. Because that would prevent this mask from tanking anything substantial.
Yeah. All right, I've messaged our tournament director, that's Schnurd, so hopefully we'll get a decision there. Meanwhile, we will continue to cast the game as is, and we do see big sends here coming out for the worst polls. 200 Mythium for Pakistan, who barely doesn't kill this one, that's a 50% leak for him, and a 50% leak for the fake one as well. Now, this is starting to look quite dangerous for these guys. I can certainly see them being happy if a remake decision is called.
Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, Pocky just needed to readjust his split just a little bit so his Hellraiser would not die there. It was very nearly perfect, but the mask in the right side needed to be raised just a hair, and it would have only cost him a couple gold. So, unfortunately, with that, he did leak. He is getting another resend into him, as he's not incredibly strong here with the masks. Thankfully, it will be tantruming, but other than that, his damage is only a little bit sus with the Canopy and the Orchid, the Canopy being obviously the better damage source.
Mm-hmm.
Ashton Butcher here just getting a Dino Send, not going to have a whole lot of work to worry about. Still has 6 Harpies worth of whatever they are on his board. Not entirely great at this point in the game, but if he's able to upgrade them into Sky Queens or sell them later, they pay for themselves.
Yeah. All
X God
right.
as well, looking very strong on 10, but still, I think that Fake One is looking for an avenue in there.
Yeah, 50% leak there from Pakistan, so he's not too happy with that. Uh, hmm.
So yeah, a little bit of a maneuver there. However, because Fake One took a moment to regroup and was able to stabilize, they are now sitting at a nice healthy 17 workers. They were able to cover for Packy there, and all things considered, it could be worse for him. I think that Packy has found himself in a bit of a bad spot right now. So depending on the decision that is going to be made eventually, this could be a little bit of a bailout for the worst polls. I think they would appreciate that. However, generally speaking, we can't know what's going to happen without any kind of proof. X God here is making a 4-pack of Daphnes on his lane, and he's not even getting sent here. So he's actually in a little bit of danger here on 11, as he's been saved for kind of a while at this point.
Yep. All right. I've had a message from Schnurd, our tournament director. So the outcome is essentially that I'm going to pause the match right now. We have this enormous send about to come. Let me just pause the match, and I want to try and contact Fake One. XGod has reused a mastermind they won with. Do you guys want to play out, or do you want a remake? So I'm giving him the option, and we'll see what Fake One decides. He's the captain of the worst polls, so we're putting the ball in their court essentially. Do they want to remake, or do they want to play this one out, knowing that they're behind and knowing they're about to go for a massive send here on 11?
Obviously, for game integrity, I'd rather have the remake, even though it comes so late, and it's deeply unfortunate that it comes so late.
All right. Fake One says that he's down to play it out. Very sporting, I think, from him. So fair play to the Poles. Despite the fact that they're pretty far behind in this game, they're willing to play it out rather than force the remake.
They're so honorable, and I appreciate that out of them. They're like JoJo. Please unpause.
Yep. Okay. Very, very fair play to the Fake One there. He says if they lose, it's fine. Very, very sporting behaviour. So let's get the game back underway.
Excellent. And their Mythium totals seem to be fine on my screen here. I don't see anything goofy going on here.
Yeah.
Yep. Nope. Everything looks fine.
Fake One, clearly very understanding. He says, I'm sure it wasn't intentional. Obviously, it wasn't. These mistakes do happen. The real shame was that none of us caught it sooner and could have just remade on wave 1 or 2. But really, really fair play there from the Poles to decide to carry on despite being behind. However, we do have this massive send coming out with the Siege Ram, and there's a couple of aggressive overwork pickups as well. Both Ashton and XGod, of course, taking Pawn Shop, selling off some of their worst units, and getting this Banana Haven here is XGod. Very good unit here for 11, but the Siege Ram really good at keeping that pierce damage off the wave.
But the Daphnes do a really startlingly good job against the Siege Ram. Watch, it's going to actually melt.
Yeah,
so
actually,
there you
that thing
have it.
goes
It's
down
actually already gone.
so quickly. But yeah, the 1800 value of XGod certainly helping out with that, no doubt. 360 Mythium for Ashton to deal with as well. His front line is just now going down. He's got a decent amount of backline still alive. Pakistan leaking 40% to the Drake. XGod, that's a shot down. 42% leak for him. And meanwhile, though, the halo of Ashton is gonna be enough. I think it does get one more cast, and the attack speed buff is enough to keep that shot down away. Fake One and Pakistan, things are starting to look quite rough for those guys. They did manage to get the shutdown from XGod at least.
They did manage to get that 25 gold. It didn't increase their odds of winning by anything at all, unfortunately. I'm not a fan of the Butcher on the Shadow Knight. I don't think it does anything at all. But I think if, for whatever reason, Ashton and XGod decide to go on them on 20, it's probably his best unit there with the Dread Knight.
Yeah, definitely. Now, things looking quite rough for the side of the Poles. Pakistan really low down on this power score, unfortunately. I wonder when they want to try and close things out for the side of X-Crash. They do have the overwork downtime here as well on wave 12, so generating quite a bit less Mythium than their opponents. The Poles steadily falling behind. I could certainly see a wave 14 as well coming out from X-Crash.
Certainly a wave 14. Not only that, we also have the APS buffed catapult or trebuchet now at this point for Ashton. That's going to be an incredibly strong unit for the next couple waves. Even on 15, that little bit of extra walking that it does, honestly, it's just strutting along. It's just casually like walking up to the wave like the badass that it is, and it's going to take it down pretty much no problem. Also, if Ashton doesn't like his units on wave 15, again, if for whatever reason we make it that far, he's got infinite rerolls available to him. Pocky here was a little bit nervous, so he did full boost that Orchid. I don't know necessarily if he had to do that, but I don't necessarily blame him on this wave because he was just a tad bit sus here, but he's not looking great next at all, and neither is his opponent, or neither is his teammate, rather, in the Fake One.
Now here comes a big wave 15 send from wave 14 send, sorry, from all 4 players. Will anybody be able to hold here? Pakistan very undervalued now. Even after he finishes spending, he's going to be around 500 mythium, 500 value under. Fake One slightly better, but that's still minus 400. The Slime Mummy's pretty good here, but Needler's quite good at dealing with those as well. Now, meanwhile, XGod, he's basically on value here with good units as well, and Ashton has a couple of those catapults that we saw working to great effect in the Slickens game before.
Absolutely. I think that Needler has a niche that Four Eyes doesn't. And while we have a moment to just briefly chat about it, it's the fact that it doesn't ramp the same way that Four Eyes does. It just continuously ramps. And Four Eyes is magic damage, Needler is pierce, all of that stuff goes along with it. It's just going to clean up the rest of the wave here. And I see very sizable leaks coming out from both the and the Fake One. Maybe not GG, but
Ashton does leak as well, but with 17 creeps reaching the king, will the worst poles survive this? And I just don't know. Oh wait, they have a Kingsguard.
They have a Kingsguard. They have a couple King Ups, not as many as their opponents, but I mean, when you're looking at it in comparison, it could be roughly equal to the amount of King Ups that they have.
They did manage to get a decent bit of damage against XGod and Ashton, and a double shutdown there on 14 as well. However, they're only 11% HP remaining for the poles.
Very true. I think we're about to see that 90% again. I think that the workers finally swinging an advantage of XGod and Ashton Butcher. We were pretty much equal throughout the entirety of this game until now, I think. So now I think is when we see that lead kind of take off, not just in income, not just in King Up advantage, not just King Gold advantage. Now it's the workers as well, and that's kind of the last bit of the puzzle that they needed to put together. We might end up getting a sleepy gun or two out of XGod, but I don't think that matters one bit.
No. Now, Pakistan may be trying to make something happen. Shifted a lot of gold here, so he's showing really heavily undervalued. Minus 800 here on 15. Maybe trying to force that send on 16, but actually they're just sending themselves, so it's not really a bait if you're going to send anyway. Now he just has a bit less gold to be able to survive.
Yep. Sure, I'll say it again. Wow, that's a bit of an oopsie.
An oopsie indeed. The Poles, this is their last chance perhaps. They need to be able to hold here, and at the same time they need to be able to leak Ashton and XGod, who both have considerably more value than they do, and also actually a comparable size send, honestly. So this is going to be a bit rough, but Fake One at least has this triple death cap, so good units for the wave for sure. Bear pretty good against that though, and we see one coming out here from Ashton, although there is a danger that it just gets ignored because he's added a snail as well.
Absolutely, and if he has enough time to ramp, this one Harpy will do really good. The Zerker is okay, but he's also got hopefully infinite delay in his Slime Mommies there, so the bear does go off to the right as predicted.
Yeah,
we do
see. Oh, he's taking focus. Oh no! I thought he might just ignore it.
Yeah, everything on the left was getting lower, so that's deeply unfortunate. It seems that everything that could have gone wrong this game kind of did.
Yeah. Now, like you said, he's getting a ton of delay from those slimes, but I just don't think it's quite going to be enough. And yeah, that's going to be a decently sized leak there from Fake One, 72%, 100% from Pakistan, and the GGs come out. X-Crash take the series 2-1, despite a little bit of controversy just to keep things interesting. And they will make it through to the semi-finals tomorrow. The worst Poles, though, they can certainly be proud of their performance and their sportsmanship, it's fair to say, in this game number 3.
I am very proud of the way they played, the decisions that they made. I think that it was really cool. We have an amazing community. I know that there are a lot of people who would have been up in arms, especially like if say we had fandoms, right? Say these teams were like paid and sponsored and all of that stuff. People would have been like, "Oh, why would you ever do that? You're quitting." No, no, no. In this community, and specifically this community, I think that this is a better move than it is one that can be respected more than one that you can get up in arms about.
Yeah, absolutely. So massive props there to Fake One and Pakistan, both for the way they played. And remember that game too, man. Wow, what a game from those guys. And also for their willingness to just be very, very sporting in the face of a little oopsie in terms of mastermind selection from X-Crash. However, not to take anything away from X-Crash, they played the series phenomenally well themselves. Game number 1 was incredible from those guys, and this game number 3, of course, you know, despite the lock-in double pick, they played it extremely well, piloted their way to a very well-deserved victory, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they perform in the semi-finals and perhaps even the grand finals tomorrow. But for now, guys, that is our stream. I hope you've enjoyed yourselves. I certainly enjoyed the games. You have to bear with me for being a little bit wrong-footed, having to try and organise things at the same time as chat on the cast. Seto, massive thank you for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed the stream, and in particular for covering there, talking about the games while I did a little bit of admin behind the scenes. So thank you, my friend.
It's always a pleasure to help. I don't know what, you know, if we don't help each other, what are we really doing? And I'm going to just preface all of this a little bit early. I'm going to give you guys my leaving message just a tad early. I want to say thanks, devs, for putting on a free viewing experience where you give out in-game currency just for watching. It's really cool that you also put up real money every month. And not a lot of small indie companies would ever consider supporting a tournament scene in such a way.
Wiser words have never been spoken, Seto, I think it's fair to say. And all the usual shout outs from myself, although it's quite hard to follow words like that. But big shout out to the tournament organiser, Schnerd, for all of the work that he does behind the scenes. Of course, the developers for, as you say, keeping the scene running and alive and sponsoring the cash tournaments, etc. And all of the players have played extremely well today. We've had some incredibly fun games to watch, and I just hope that everyone at home has enjoyed the show. But for now, guys, that's all that we have for you today. We've had 3 really cool series of games. And just make sure you're back in time tomorrow, because those semis and grand finals are going to be incredible. But on that note, that's me. I'm done. Seto, you're a beast. Thank you for joining me, mate. And what a hat, by the way. What a hat.
This is no joke called my sex tat. That's not made up.
Well, I hope you get to wear it tonight. And on that note, guys, that is all we've got time for today. We will see you back here again, same time tomorrow for those semi-finals. Until then,